What's up? What's up? What y'all doing? We live. We live at 5. They said it's 10, but whatever. That don't mean nothing. We're gonna get us a little music jamming, get us a little background going. I know I'm all up on the computer. I'm trying to get my little tripod set up. Y'all work with me a little bit. There we go. We already got a little heart me's, a little love. I'm trying to get my little ghetto TikTok studio set up. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get everythinged. All right. I gotta get my light, my lighting set up correctly. Gonna talk about this background right here. Gonna get all this shit set up. I was probably supposed to already have it done, but that ain't the point. I'm gonna share this rascal out. Get that thing popping to some folks, Just a little something. Nothing crazy. Oh, sending the love, sending the heart means it's a good day. It's a good day. We're gonna have a topic. We're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna get the likes up and then bring some folks in there. If y'all will hold down the screen, if you want to put it on my nose or something like that, it'll pop up a list of your closest friends and associates. You can send the live out. Send it to somebody. Send it to somebody that you would care to have a conversation with. Send it to somebody you like or you don't like. Don't bother me. I was gonna run a political background, but I know I can't be as messy on the political background, and I feel like being messy. It's Sunday. Can y'all read the prompt? I hope so. While ain't nobody coming up here yet, because we're gonna get the likes up, I am gonna do a little shout out to some of the content that I'm trying to create in a sub only space for like health and fitness and such like that. So if y'all want to subscribe and have that conversation, I'm gonna do sub only lives once every few weeks. I don't know exactly how often or how involved those can be, but I know I'm gonna do sub only content, and sub only content is going to be talking about nutrition, about gym, about how you can work out at home, how you can work out in the gym, how you can train better, your VO2 maxes, all types of stuff like that, right? Zone 2 training for cardio, how often should you do cardio, what the science is behind that type of stuff, all of that, how that works into our capitalistic society, all that type of stuff, But yeah, we're gonna get the subscribing going on, get the heart puffing going on. I wonder if there's somebody in here that disagrees with what this background is. Like I said, I think that abortion should be available for all 9 months. Saying you're a good man is toxic, and capitalism hurts everyone, including you. Almost everyone, including you. If you're on this live right now, capitalism is oppressing you. Did y'all know that? Yeah, so but yeah, look, it's Sunday. I bought a brand new fancy tablet thing to go live with, then I couldn't get the webcam to work, so we're back on the Samsung Ultra phone. It is what it is. I was gonna have some fancy rhetoric along with it. I'm trying to do big stuff over here, but so far it ain't working. It is what it is. But yeah, women should have access to an abortion as health care for the entire time that you can be pregnant, 100%. And that's a fact, you know what I'm saying? And if you disagree with that, then you don't care about humanity, you don't care about her life, you don't care about children's life, you're definitely not pro-woman, for sure. If you're pro-life, you're not pro-woman. Did you know that? That crazy, ain't it? Yeah. A lot of men like to say they're good when in fact they do things that harm women and children on a daily basis. They uphold a system that is oppressive in nature. It's crazy work. Oh, look at us. What's up, Matt?
Yo, what's up?
Not much. Is there something on this background you disagree with?
Yeah, of course. Capitalism. You say it hurts everyone.
Yeah, it hurts almost everyone, including you.
Do you think there's a better system
I think that we should decenter capitalism. I know that,
and replace
but
it with
yeah,
what?
I mean, it can be some type of socialism. It can be some type of that for sure. It can be that.
Unfortunately, those systems have been tried and they fail. Capitalism, I will say, is a broken system in many ways. It does favor the rich because the rich stay rich, and it's hard to become rich in a capitalistic society because it's all about, trying to make a profit. But it's the only system that's proven to hold a society together and work.
Well, actually, so you said that the other things have been tried and they failed. Are you saying
They
that
have
right now in the United States, capitalism is being successful? Is that what you're saying?
better than socialism or better
I didn't
than.
say better than. I said you're implying that the system is not broken. You're implying that the system is good. You're implying that it's
I'm
not working.
implying that it's the best option we have compared to
And
other.
it's absolutely not.
But it is though. What
But it's
system is
not.
better? Because there isn't a better system. I promise you, there's not.
A system that doesn't provide mass inequalities of people is a good system. And capitalism does not help in that at all. Capitalism centers the capital and not the person. No,
That is true, but the thing is, the problem with the other systems is it breaks. You don't have a
no, no,
functioning society. You don't have people
because it,
working because they find ways to get around it. This is the only system that holds us together. It might not be the best way. It's toxic in a lot of ways, but it's the only way that
so you
works,
think that
unfortunately.
people working is what the goal of people is.
No, the goal of people is to just have a society together. Because if no one works, then nothing gets done. You can't have food. You can't have other stuff. You have countries like China, and which are run under other systems, and the quality of life there versus the U.S. is much worse. You have the reason
How do you know
people are
that?
moving into the U.S. is because our system is better than anywhere else. That's
How do you
that's the
know
whole
that?
reason.
Have you been to China?
No, you can just look it up though. It's
Okay,
it's
so you
pure
don't know.
statistics. It's
So you don't know.
statistics. That's
And
like saying that
you,
your life
you don't think
experience
the
dictates
propaganda
fact.
exists
That's
either.
not
Then
true.
the what?
Yeah, that's like saying your life experiences dictates facts. That's like saying, oh well, um, I was in an accident and it was a woman, so that means women are worse drivers than men. That's just not true.
Yeah, and that's what you're doing. You're saying that capitalism is the best because
No,
it's the
I'm
best
not.
because you've not been in any other system.
What the
You've not
fuck?
experienced that at all. You
You
haven't
can
been
literally
around.
open a history book and read, and you can realize that all the other
Who,
systems fail.
who wrote the history books and who put the history books in your favor? The winners
The
and the people
scientists.
that want to uphold your system or the system that's in place. Those are the people that write that language. Just like they're trying to whitewash the slavery experience in the United States right now because it's hurtful, as in it mimics a lot of the things that are happening right now. Not everything, but some things. But they're trying to say in history books that someone that was enslaved in the United States had it okay and they had some mutual things that they liked out of slavery, which is complete and utter bullshit. Do you
I
not
feel
agree?
like we're getting off topic here. That's
No,
not really what I'm
no.
talking
You're
about.
reading. That's the
That's
same
like
history
saying the
book that you're
government is
reading.
bad and spying on me. That's what you're talking about right now.
The what?
That's like you're like striking me as someone who thinks the government is spying on me or some shit like that.
No, not at all. I don't think the government's spying on me, but I do think that the government's trying to change a narrative and trying to paint. And you believe that capitalism is good for people, and it's just not. A lot of people are oppressed by capitalism. A lot, including you.
I never
Um,
said it was good, to be clear. I said it
yeah,
was the best option.
yes. Okay, so then we should try to actually work towards something that does away with that, which includes getting rid of the billionaires. You know what I'm saying? Which includes getting rid of the uber super
Right.
rich, wealthy people.
I don't know if a full system change would be best for us, but I think amendments to our system is definitely good. I can agree with
Well,
you there.
we already live in
So,
that society. We already
sorry.
live in a mixed economy. So
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, but it's still capitalistic. That's never gonna
yeah,
change.
yeah. And we're not getting into the narrative of the exact terminology of that or the mixed economy because I know that that's where we're at. But what I am saying is that our current social structure values capital over anything else, over people's lives. You'll hear people right now Trump was on an interview the other day talking about all of the environmental regulations that go around, and those need to quit because we need to be able to make more money. Environmental regulations protect me, protect you, protect the environment, protect people, but capitalism does not care about the environment. It only cares about capital, and that's profit. And that's what we have to change. That's the system that we're living in, and we're upholding the system by saying, yeah, it's all right. Like, it's okay. It's the best we got. It's the best thing that can happen, when it's completely not.
So you're saying that you need to find an alternative for capital or money then?
And there's been many societies that have worked over that over the thousands of years, but that doesn't mean that oppression didn't happen. That doesn't mean that war didn't happen. That doesn't mean that conquering didn't happen. That doesn't mean that greed didn't happen and all that type of stuff. So saying that capitalism is the most successful thing that we've ever seen is crazy.
I mean, it operates on the narrative that people are inherently not perfect, and you need to have a system that is slightly abrasive to hold people to do things. Because in a perfect society, in a perfect world, communism would be the best thing. But it's proven that that doesn't work because people choose not to do their part in society and freeload off of others, and that's just human nature, which is not going to change, unfortunately.
Appreciate the subscriber. Thank you.
Yeah, like communism, like on paper, seems like the more ethical way to go. It just, we've seen time and time again, it just doesn't really work when you really put it into practice. Because like this guy said, people are not really going to do their part in a communist society.
Do you think that people are doing their part now in a capitalistic society? Do you think that everyone's
More
doing their
than a
part?
communistic society, yes.
The what?
The thing is,
More
with
than
capitalism,
any
you
other
can kinda,
system, yes.
capitalism
No.
kind of run on its own without really being regulated a lot. So that's why it's just a better option than communism. 'Cause
What,
it's like,
what can be ran better? Capitalism can be ran unregulated?
well,
It regulates
Absolutely not.
itself. It
it
regulates
regulates
itself.
itself. Like,
No. So you think that we have it? You think that it's regulated right now? Do you really think that having these billionaires influence this election, and all that is regular?
Well, they just have
okay?
the most money. The money runs the world. That's just the fact of our time. I don't think
And
that's going to change.
When a couple of hundred people have all the money, that's not a good world to live in. That's not fair. That's
But
not
it's reality,
inclusive.
life isn't fair.
You're kind of missing the point of the situation. I didn't think the stream wanted to be up here. I don't even know what you was doing.
Fair enough. But I mean, it's
Now, just because you can't decouple the idea of not having capitalism run your life doesn't mean that it's good.
I mean, I would love.
Doesn't mean that it can't be dismantled completely. It's the same thing with we don't need any police officer and we don't need any military.
so like, do you think there's any flaws with like complete communism though? Like, do you think it's like completely perfect, or do you think that there's flaws in it though, Alabama?
I think that, well, first off, I didn't push for communist altogether. I just know that what we have, capitalism hurts everyone, including you.
Okay.
That's what the background says.
Okay, but you think ideally we should push to strive more politically left in terms of like the economy, correct?
Oh yes, completely.
Okay, so like I'd be on board with that, but we've seen just throughout history, like communism just, or when just like economies are more left, they don't really work long term, and then capitalism has to come in and kind of like save that economy for it to function.
And right now, capitalism also doesn't work, and socialism has to come in and save it every 10 to 15 years. Do you realize that or not?
I mean, sure, but
That's the recession of 2008, the pandemic, the dot-com bubble, the depression. All of this was saved by socialism. Everything was saved by socialism, and no one wants to allude to that.
I'm not
We
saying
had-
socialism is bad entirely, but I don't think
what?
we should really push completely on that side because it's gonna have some problems.
Yeah, it should be a whole bunch more taken into account, and no one should be able to amass the amount of wealth that has happened inside of this country. And that capitalism is okay with that, and that's the issue. That's kind of what you're missing. So we should have a $25 minimum wage. We should have a year paid paid off work whenever there's a childbirth. We should have free health care. The health care shouldn't be privatized, and it shouldn't be tied to your specific job or anything like that. Anyone with identification should be able to go into any hospital and get any service that they need. All of that socialism, and none of capitalism doesn't support any of that at all. And as long as there's bootlickers out here, it's not going to be able to be there. But you should just be able to walk in and get any health services that you want in any hospital.
I mean, so you said we should up the minimum wage to $25 federally,
Yeah, 100%.
but I mean, like, that's great and all, but once it happens, like, companies are just gonna just start bumping up prices again when they up that. So
I've got a couple of different videos debunking that. Right now, the companies make the largest amount of profit margin, and that's where the money needs to come from. If Walmart paid all of their employees like double the amount of money on the bottom end, if they paid everybody like $18 an hour, and they transferred all of that cost onto the product itself, products would only raise like 1.2%.
so like if we up the federal rate, the minimum wage, there'd be no inflation.
There shouldn't be, as long as there's not greedy people sitting at the helm of these companies. And that
So like you're in favor. So like you're in favor of like companies like kind of like being regulated so that they don't like kind of like scalp people out of like their money.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Like let's just use I'm just gonna throw these numbers out here. If you make $1 million, you should pay 25% tax income. If you a year on a W-2, you shouldn't be paid in stocks and such as that. You should be paid in dollars like a W-2 employee. If you get paid $5 million a year, that should start to go up to like 40%. And this was all in place in the 90s. I think if you made over $1 million in the 90s, it was like 85% tax rate once you got to $1 million a year. And then that way, and the difference between CEO pay and regular employee pay was like 50 times. Now it's like 437 times the amount. And the reason why we got there is because the federal wage doesn't include that. There's no healthy competition. There's only a couple of companies that sell everything. So therefore, when they raise their prices, they just raise their prices. And when the government doesn't have any regulations on raising wages, they just keep that profit margin.
Okay,
It's all working together. And like I said, since what happened, here's a very easy breakdown of this. I don't even know why I'm explaining it to you, because I've heard some of your takes, but I'll just do the work. The Depression happened. Socialism came in, did a lot of government spending, set up a lot of success. The 50s and the 60s happened. We had great expansion on all sorts of things, right? We had great everything. That we had a strong middle class. People were able to buy stuff. People were able to work with a one person income and raise a family, retire, benefits. Unions were strong. All this type of stuff, because unions are fighting for these same things, pension plans and all that type of stuff. And then the 80s happened and deregulation happened. Deregulation happened. Companies got combined, and now we don't have any healthy competition in the market.
well, I guess that's true, but I also do feel like with the one person income, I do feel like, and I'm not saying this is like wrong, but women working did kind of make it harder for one person to be able to provide for a family. That was a big part in that too.
Why?
Not saying that's a bad thing, but
Why? Why is a person working making it bad?
well, think about it, if men were the main workers and then women started working as well, there's going to be less demand for workers, so they're going to probably pay those workers less since there's more people entering the work field. That's what I've read online. So,
Yeah.
and it makes sense too. The more people that are entering the workforce, the less you're going to pay those workers. So that was a big reason why, like, the one income household was not really possible.
So I don't think that you understand about women entering the workforce.
I don't.
Yeah. So here's the thing: women could always enter the workforce.
Yeah, no, but they weren't really were not incentivized to.
No. No, they were openly discriminated against, and they weren't paid as well when they did enter the workforce. So what the government did was make sure that companies couldn't be greedy or a sexist towards women. And when I say greedy, I'm talking about pay them less for the same job, which that's still happening the same way that's happening with BIPOC community. And then make sure that they didn't get openly discriminated against when they applied for said jobs, which still happens, but just not on the large scale that it happened before. In the 1960s, a woman would just be able to be turned down and the company could say, I don't want to hire a woman, and there's nothing they could do. Just like before 1964 and 1965, if it was a black man coming in, they could say, you're a black man, I'm not hiring you. And they would say, okay. That's all you could do. So what it was just laws were set in place to protect workers. Not that more workers went into the workforce, it's that they had access to more jobs. So the oppression was lifted. That doesn't mean that the companies couldn't be openly greedy about it and hold everyone's wages down.
Right.
Trust me, I do that. I do this on all. And here, I'll give you a real life world example if you want me to. I run $1 million+ projects, right? And all the employees on said project are paid well, and the company still profits 35 to 40%. I don't know if you know what that is or not, but on a $2 million project, we can bring home $700,000 of profit after paying employees all the wages inside of the blue collar trades that they're at right now. If that employee makes $30 an hour at another company, we pay 32. If that employee makes $50 an hour, we pay 51.50 or something like that. So the market for the job is the same, but the company still gets to profit almost $750,000 in 6 months' time. Is that fair to you? You think?
Wait, what's fair? Like
The company gets to make $250,000 off of the backs of 10 employees.
Well, personally, I've always had this notion that since the person that owns the company is the real one taking the risk with the company.
Yeah, I don't think that you understand companies either. Then explain what risks they have.
So like for instance, Amazon, right? Like obviously, like what if the company's like up and running? Like a lot of times, like companies crash, so that person's like losing a crap ton of money. But like
The person
they're
losing money,
that
or
are,
is the
like,
company
very-
losing money? Is the person losing money, or is the company losing money?
I guess the company, but I'm talking about like the specific like shareholder or like the founder of the company, like the person starting up the company.
Yeah.
So I feel like the person that like the head of the company should get the most,
Okay.
but the worker should still get a fair wage.
Okay, yeah, that's exact. First off, companies aren't people, like someone in the comments said, but also you can't lose money that you don't have. So if stocks are going down, that means that the money was already made. All right, and we're not talking about stocks, we're talking about profits. That's a different story, okay? Profits and stocks are two different things. If a company profits a large sum of money, 15 to 20 to 30% more, 20 times more than all the employees together combined, that's a problem. When every employee can get a double their salary, and the company still makes a profit, that's oppression. Do you agree?
Sure, yeah.
That's the ticket there, okay? And that's why giving everyone a $22 or $25 an hour minimum wage is not going to break the economy at all. It's actually going to stimulate the economy, because the speed of money is a real thing. The velocity of wealth happens. So when these billionaires amass all this wealth, it sits stagnant in different things. A stock doesn't do anything for the economy. The economy itself is the way that the market is worked, right? So a stock value does not mean anything to you or me. But if I gave you an extra $10,000, you would spend that money. You would spend it somewhere. You would buy a new car. You would buy new clothes. You would go out to eat. You would do an addition on your house. You would go to Lowe's and buy. I don't know what you would do, but you would do something. That is stimulating the economy, which is good for capitalism. But again, it's also good for people, right? So there's a mixed part of socialism that has to go into capitalism right now, because capitalism is hurting us. All right. It's this. If we want to go back to the business wages again, if the business owner gets to make more money than everyone else, there should always be a percentage of that in between the lowest paid employee and the most paid employee.
Right. So just so I'm like, you don't think that the person that owns the business or the company, you don't think that they should get the most wages out of the company?
It depends on what they do.
So like, what if it's just me like sitting around, but I happen to own the company?
What are you doing? What are you doing to bring value to the company?
I just own it. That's it.
There you go. You think that you should get paid more money because your name is on the top of the document for the company. The company is an entity. I own a company. But that doesn't mean that I get to make money just because I own the company. Now, if I'm actively working inside the company, then I should receive payment for that. But I don't pay myself out of the company if I'm not doing any active work inside the company. That's silly. Don't you agree?
I guess it would just depend on like what kind of like company we're talking about too. Like obviously, like if it's like more like I don't know. You say you do blue collar,
Yeah.
so like I'm thinking more like I don't know. I'm thinking more like in like tech. Like if I own like a tech company,
And you're not working inside of it. Just because my company handles blue collar stuff and a tech company handles sitting in a computer doing white collar stuff, that doesn't make any difference. If you're not actively involved in the company, then you shouldn't get paid. You shouldn't make money off the labor of someone else. Every time that a stock gets bought or shareholders get money, that's stolen wages from labor. Labor includes all types of labor. That doesn't mean manual blue collar stuff. That any type of work that you do to move something around within inside of a company is labor. It doesn't matter if you're sacking groceries at the grocery store, or if you're writing code in a company, or if you're building a website design, or if you're doing phone calls, if you're setting up documentation. It doesn't matter what you're doing. That is labor. And labor produces the profit. So the person that does the labor should gain the most amount from that labor. Just because you facilitate a place for someone to do labor doesn't mean you should get more of the labor than the person doing the labor.
right? But my whole thing is the person who owns the company. They're the ones bearing the risk of that company, like
That's
failing
also
or
not
going
true.
bankrupt.
And I know that you don't know this because you don't. I've had a couple of LLCs, but you have risks that are involved in that. But your risk has insurance along with it. That's what insurance is for. That's what policies are for. It's the same. It's the same way. Like if you buy a car, you take out insurance on the car. You risk wrecking the car every time you drive the car. But if you do wreck the car, you have insurance to replace, fix the car. So therefore, you're not at risk of losing the car and everything that you've ever worked for, right? Because you have insurance for that. And the insurance will make you whole is what we call that. That's what workers' comp is for. So if I own a business and I have workers' comp and you are working for me and you get injured, it does not cost me more money. We have a workers' comp policy. If you cut your hand off, you will be paid handsomely. That does not mean that it comes out of my pocket. If you are unalive, then you will be taken care of from a financial standpoint. The risk is not on me as the business owner.
So
You're the one taking the risk in that scenario. You're the one that might end up without a hand. You're the one that might end up unalive. So why should I get more of your labor for you're taking the risk? I'm behind the desk. Do you see the problem?
I mean, I kind of see where you're coming from that lens, but like,
That was a
say
good one.
like it's like generally speaking though, who do you think like bears more of a risk? Do you think the worker who, if the company like ends up like going bankrupt one day or whatnot, they can realistically go find like another job in that industry, or the person who owns the company who goes bankrupt and now like they're kind of screwed because like their company's done for? Like who
Why
who
can't
in
they go
essence
find
do you
another
think
job?
bear-
Why
So-
can't they go find another job?
Well, they could, but
There you go. Why
Okay,
should
so-
I own an electrical business? If I quit owning my electrical business, I could go work for an electrical business. If you work for me and I fired you, I laid you off, I did whatever, or I said, then you could go work for another electrical business. That's the key. That you think that I have more risk because I own the business. If the business fails, I still can go work. I still can provide my labor.
So like you don't think really anyone has a risk involved at all or necessarily?
Yes, the laborer has the risk. Like I broke my hand on the job site. The person that owned the company didn't even know I broke my hand for weeks after that. They literally had no risk. So why should he make half of my labor wages?
Because you're working for him.
No, I'm working to get paid. I'm not working for him. I'm working to get paid. And he's making a lot of profit on me.
Yeah.
Matt, you got to quit, Daddy, if you want to stay up here. Sometimes Matt comes in here and has a decent conversation. Sometimes he comes in here and trolls. I don't know what he's going to do tonight. So.
La 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 la. Raven's World.
I guess he wants to troll. It sounds like he was watching Disney. That's good for him. So I do want to take a slight break, and I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the likes, the love. We're off on a little. I appreciate the heart me's, all of that type of stuff. We up here just explaining to 6 foot about the economy. It's a good time. But that's what's been taught to you a lot is the risk is on the company owner and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's just not. It's literally not. That's why we have insurance. If you slip and fall, insurance takes care of that. Right? If you work for FedEx and you wreck the truck, do you think that FedEx is held liable for that truck, or do you think that they had insurance for that truck?
They probably had insurance.
There you go. So like, it might be a slight inconvenience. They might need to reroute the thing. They might need to send another truck and unload the packages and get, you know what I'm saying? They might have to pay you a little bit of overtime because you're still on the clock making a wage. You've still got to get packages done, but like it didn't cost. It's not costing FedEx, a crazy amount of. If the FedEx building catches on fire, insurance takes care of that. Thank you. It's always a catch for that, but they like to say risk.
So like why do you think a lot of these people they say that the person who owns the company is the one bearing most of the risk for the company? Why do you think they teach
white
that?
supremacy? That's white supremacy.
White supremacy?
Yeah.
Ah.
It's
like I'm actually confused there.
Okay, well, the system is set up in supremacy, right? So the system came from European Americans, right? And so European Americans conquered and took over and put in charge themselves, right? No one said, hey, European Americans, y'all should be in charge. They conquered native peoples, indigenous peoples. They enslaved black peoples here on this country, right? And on this continent. Now, once that happened, the European Americans were in power, right? And convincing the ones that aren't in power that it's hard to be in power is white supremacy. No, I'm taking the risk. I'm providing you this job. You should be appreciative. I know that you can get paid $50 an hour, but if you went somewhere else and worked, you'd only make 30. So I'm only going to pay you 30 because I have this risk involved. Why would I pay you an extra 20? You're not really that. You can't do what I do. I'm providing you a place to make this money. I'm taking care of you. It's the same thing as the plantation stuff. There was it's the same thing with the woman's vote. A lot of women didn't want to vote because they were convinced that was going to create more problems for them. So they should let a man protect them. They should let a man do those things. It was push that narrative. That's white supremacy. Letting a white man make all your decisions for you is white supremacy.
Well,
by force or by
manipulation.
Coercion. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess I see the point like with the vote, but I'd say they more so didn't want to vote because they didn't really want to take on the responsibilities that came with voting during that time.
That's exactly. That's what I'm saying. And that's what you're saying now. Like, I don't want to take the responsibility of being a business owner. I don't want to take that risk of being a business owner. But it's not that much risk. It's not that much stuff, right? A business is just a piece of paper, sir. A business is just literally a piece of paper. That's all it is. And it takes a little bit of money to get it going. Now, to work the business takes a lot, right? I have 15 years in the electrical trade. It took less than $1,000 to make an electrical business on paper and insured. And we're ready to go for less than $1,000. But my labor of 15 years is what adds value to the company. So why would I not get paid for my 15 years of labor and experience if I'm the one that's working within the business? Why should the business make more money than me? You see what I'm saying? Like, just in that once, what if I'm the only employee? Why should my business make more money than me if I'm the one that's bringing the labor to the table? The business is just a piece of paper. Do you agree to that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now I hire 6 foot. Why should my business make more money than 6 foot?
Because
Why should the electrical company on paper make double what you make just because you didn't start said business?
I mean, like, I understand, like, the being fair, right? Like, I'm not going to negate that. I just still, maybe I have, like, white supremacy lingering around in my brain or something.
It's pushed. It's pushed. They've done a great job of making sure that you think that this is where you should be and I should be and all this type of stuff, right? Because I mean, don't get me wrong, my skin tone is that, but I wasn't born into a family with power, prestige, or anything like that, right? So I was outside of the circle in that nature, right? But we have to break down those systems that keep us oppressed. So the fairness continues to be what it needs to be, right?
Okay. So, like, what about, like, even, like, for example, like, outside of, like, white people, like, what about, like, so you think that, like, even places like Asia or, like, certain places in Africa that kind of, like, have these similar systems, like, that's, like, white supremacy too?
Yeah, well, so it depends on the country itself, but for the most part, countries are built on oppression, right? And they've used the United States as a model for that. And the United States got some of it from Europe and such as that, right? You know, from England. I mean, we speak English here in America, in the United States. You know, but all of it is that type of thing. There's racism in countries that only have, you know, that aren't white and black. You know, all that type of stuff, right? It's the same thing.
So, like, even with, like, the business, like, you think that, like, say, like, we took Japan, for example. I know Japan's kind of, like, influenced by the U.S., but, like, you'd say, like, that's, like, examples of white supremacy too, because they're pretty capitalistic society over there. You think that?
I haven't studied Japan enough to know exactly if that's 100% applicable or not. But if they run a capitalistic system like we do, and I don't think that they do, because their CEOs don't make what our CEOs make.
Well, I mean,
more
depends on
billionaires
the
than anyone
companies.
else. Yeah, we produce more billionaires than anyone else. We have the biggest military than anyone. The military is oppressive. The military is white supremacist. That's white supremacy, right?
The military?
Yeah.
I mean, every country has a military, though.
No, our military is white supremacy.
Why? Because we dominate everybody?
That's white supremacy. We're the best. We're the best, and you should respect us, and we'll come over there and unalive you, and we'll set up a base over here, and we're going to influence you, and you should be like us, and all that type of stuff, because we're better. We're the best. That's white supremacy. Like, we're the best. No matter what, we're the best, right?
I mean, I'd say that's people trying to be oppressive. I wouldn't say that's white supremacy, though, because, like, practically every country that has any sort of power, they do this to other countries, regardless. You know, so
yeah, but
I wouldn't say it's just a white thing, but it's definitely not. It's people trying to, like, have power over people.
Yeah,
You know,
but if it's coming from here, then it's just white supremacy in nature, because it's oppressive. But white supremacy is oppressive. Not everything that's oppressive is white supremacy, but white supremacy is oppressive.
right?
So that being the case, like, there's a tie back to it, and when it comes from here, then it comes from a hint of that, right? There's some of that sprinkled in there.
So, like, you think our military should, like, kind of, like, just leave certain nations alone? You'd say
100%. I would love to see. I mean, we're not going to get there in our lifetime, but we don't need to have any military. No, zero.
us specifically.
The United States, yes. We shouldn't have a
Well,
military. No
I
one
don't
else should
think
either.
that's never gonna happen. Unfortunately, though, like as long as other countries exist, like with
As
our
long
other
as
like,
as long as we uphold oppressive systems, you're right. But there's a couple of countries that don't have militaries, and they're
can you
not
give like
fighting.
an example?
Costa Rica doesn't have a military.
Costa Rica?
Yeah,
No,
you didn't know that?
no, because I thought almost every country had like some sort of like defense force or military. Because even like small, like even my home country, Jamaica, we have like our little military. I thought every country had like some sort of like defense force. But
Yeah, they're defending against white supremacy. But Costa Rica decided not to have a military after a I can't remember the details, so I don't even want to say it out here. But I've read two different articles on that, on the reason why they don't have one. But it was like a civilian movement, and they voted not to have any more. But I just brought up Mountain Vibes was in the comments. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
Good, good. I just saw it said men only, my bad.
Yeah, but I mean it's not that hot in here, so it's okay. Do you want to move the topic around, or do you want to keep kind of where we're at? We've just been talking about
I was only listening for a couple minutes. I saw your headline, abortion all 9 months, and I think that's crazy. That's
yeah.
crazy.
Why is that?
Do you see the abortion process for like 34 weeks plus? That's crazy.
Yeah. I just don't think that the government should have any involvement on when someone needs an abortion. And that being the case, I don't think that we should have any regulations on it, right? Because it's in the doctor and the person that's pregnant, it's in their best interest for them to make a decision what's best for them. You see, what's best for the
Yeah,
pregnant person.
no, I completely agree. I think like Trump's like redoing of Roe v. Wade and taking that away puts it in more into the states, right? Which is less federal involvement, right? It puts it into the state hand. And um I don't know because I've seen videos of how they perform 9-month, 8-month abortions, and
Yeah.
it's really graphic and it's really wild. So I guess it comes to like kind of a philosophical question of like when is that baby considered human? When does that baby have rights?
Yeah, but like here's
But
like
9 months is crazy.
but here's a great example. If you are 7.5 months pregnant, you're probably wanting to go to term with that baby, right?
Oh, of course.
yeah, most likely. But
Yeah, there's not a scenario where there's a woman that's indecisive about getting an abortion and she makes it to 8 months pregnant, right? She's picked out a name. She knows where she's going to deliver the baby. She's been going to ultrasounds. Hopefully, she has a crib and a baby room set up. She's bought clothes. She's bought diapers. She's bought all these things. She is going home from work or something. She's going home from the grocery store. She gets into a car wreck. The baby unalives. That is called an abortion when they have to remove that baby from
Right,
that
and women
car
have
wreck. That is
miscarriages all the time too.
okay.
Like
So it's
even at
coded
that.
as an abortion. Now we can't have the military regulate when that's. I mean, we can't have the government say when that can and cannot happen because that's meddling in someone's personal affairs now. The woman.
I agree with you. I
You know,
agree with you. I want less government involvement in like most things, for sure. It's a really convoluted topic. It's a very convoluted topic because it's like people debate over what time that's actually a human that we should give human rights to. But when you say 9-month abortions, those happen in a lot of states. That's legal, and a lot of times they give the moms like fentanyl, they sedate the mom, they sedate the baby, and then they tear that baby out limb by limb, and that is gnarly. And I'm like, should that baby have rights
yeah.
or
Wait.
not?
But we can't allow the government to regulate that. Now, if you want to play on the morals and such as that, it's still a pregnant person, and you're not going to trump over Like I said, it's usually always for health benefits. You know what I'm saying? Just the videos that you saw, I'm pretty positive are some type of propaganda stuff. The same way that 6 foot and I were talking about capitalism and his views on capitalism. As 6 foot, you're 20, 19?
Yeah, I'm 19.
19, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So he's only saw a limited amount of stuff, right? And he saw a lot of propaganda about capitalism and why it's so great, such as that. But we can move off of that topic and say that there's a lot of things that are wrong with it, right? So
You know,
but
I really want to talk about the history of Planned Parenthood, because when you actually look into the history of Planned Parenthood and the founder, Margaret Throw, I forget her last name, she was an active woman that spoke out about wanting to depopulate Black people. And so she created Planned Parenthood to convince Black mothers to abort their children.
Oh yeah,
And when you look into that history, that is also wild.
I actually have a story
And
about that too. My
and it's
mom,
very true. You can look it up. This is not a conspiracy. Like, I know there's so many conspiracies floating around, but please look it up and please research it, because the history of Planned Parenthood, in my opinion, is super, super evil.
cool. Do
And
you
that's
support? Wait, do you support defunding the police and all cops are bad?
absolutely not. Fuck
Okay,
no. Like,
but wait,
please
but wait,
support the police.
but wait. Cops came from slave catchers. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know
Jeff.
that.
Okay, so if you don't
Jeff.
agree with Planned Parenthood, then you don't
But are
agree
all
with
cops today
I'm
like
just saying.
slave?
But what's up there?
Are all cops today
Really?
slave catchers? I don't. Hell no, they're not. They're
I'm just
mostly good men that want to defend their states and their
yeah. I wouldn't
doesn't
say
believe
that.
they're
places
But
good
of
men.
living.
hold on.
Most
Let's
cops
don't.
are actually really good people. You get a few
Wait,
bad apples.
Jeff,
Hold on. What's up
are,
there?
are you serious right now?
What? Yeah. What?
So you think cops are bad people? Yeah, there are bad cops in this world, just like there are bad doctors, there are bad lawyers, there are bad electricians, there are bad HVAC people. There
Yeah.
are a small amount of bad people.
There's bad people everywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the system itself is bad that have
The
cops.
system is not bad.
Yeah, it's 100%.
The system
It's
currently
100%
is
bad.
bad. The
It's
system
100%
currently
bad.
is bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like that's the thing. Cops in
Right. For
themselves operate inside of an
the past
oppressive.
3.5 years, it has been bad.
Oh, you're talking about because you think of Biden.
Huh?
well,
The past
Okay.
3.5 years
The
it has not
past
been
three and a
bad.
half years. So I bought a house based off I was finally prospering. I bought a car based off I was finally prospering. You know what I'm not doing right now? I'm not prospering. I'm
Yeah,
drowning.
so you
As a
moved away
single
from
mother
Dara.
that still has 3 kids in my home, trying to provide groceries. You know,
Dara, hold on. Now we can discuss why inflation in itself is bad and how it's bad. We were talking about that earlier. We're talking about capitalism itself and how the wealthy continue to get wealthy, and such as that billionaires look out for other billionaires and they don't look out for us. But we do have a full panel. I don't know if anybody wants to step down or not, or if anybody wants to add into the conversation now that we're here.
You know,
well,
I don't agree with you, or I do agree with you that the systems at hand are bad. I think if you're not living under a rock, if you're awake and aware, the systems are really, really corrupt and really bad. I don't think anyone is disagreeing with you on
Well, then
that.
how can you say there's good police?
well, my father works in law enforcement. I wouldn't say he's a bad person, but
Exactly.
it's pretty
A lot of
subjective.
those men, like, they really do want to protect and defend, and they do. Like, they do this really hard job. They go out and they deal with a lot of BS. And I wouldn't want to do that job. So I'm actually really thankful. I would rather live in a world where I can call a police officer if I have an emergency than a world where they're is no police officer. Can you imagine a world like that? Because I can't. And I would much rather have a police officer if I had an emergency, if I needed to call 911. Like, we're talking about a world without police officers. That's like the purge. Like, that is scary. I would much rather have those brave men, like, defending
Brave
my
men.
city. Absolutely.
So Sonia Massey doesn't have the same opinion as you do about calling police officers when she's in trouble. Did you know that?
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there's evil people in every space and sector of humanity. So
Okay,
are we
but-
going to throw out the baby with the bathwater? Like, for
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
Would you
yeah,
rather live in
yeah.
a world without that?
Yeah, I would love to live in a world without corruption, without
too.
without oppressive systems. Being a
Me
police
too.
officer, the police officer system is oppressive, just like the military system is oppressive. Now, whether or not you want to identify as that oppressive or not is a different story. But again, it is oppressive in nature. The same way that capitalism hurts everyone, that's because capitalism is oppressive. They all work together to create oppression to you. And what you're doing is you're describing a mafia mentality, as in the mafia is going to protect you, but if you don't do as they wish, then they will harm you. And that's what y'all are missing. Okay. So what you're doing is you're displaying what we call white woman behavior, as in you're okay with the oppressive as long as it doesn't happen to you. You would like to have the cops to be around because you haven't been harmed, victimized by said cops or police
You know what?
officers or
I
people in
have
the
been
community.
said victimized by said cops. But you know what? I have also called on the same cops to protect me from a violent individual that was in my house in front of my kids.
In
I-
Alabama.
Happened to
I,
Sonya
like I
Massey didn't
said,
happen to you.
Yeah.
There are bad people in all professions.
Okay, so let's stop right there. If
So-
they're in a profession that is
But
oppressive,
you know what?
like, here's a
But
good,
you know
here's a good
what,
example.
Jeff?
Are there
But
good
you know what?
politicians? Are there good politicians?
Cops were the ones that came and they saved.
Are there good politicians? Or are all politicians corrupt? Yes or no?
What do you think?
All politicians are corrupt.
They're-
I would agree with you. Absolutely.
Okay, then
They're
all
all
cops are
controlled by
bad.
corporate interests.
All cops are bad because they
All
uphold
cops
an
are
oppressive
bad.
system.
So you'd rather not have any cops?
I'd rather not have any oppression.
I don't want to be oppressed either. 100%. The
Okay,
thing
then-
is,
then-
we like.
Why do
We
you keep
live in a
silencing me,
system.
Jeff?
We live in a system, and there's bad people in the system.
I'm not silencing anybody. The mods are though, but we don't want to monologue, and we want to keep up. We want to keep the conversation going. I know there's some people on
Okay,
the panel.
but yet we don't want to talk about the cops that came there to save me that night, that saved me from a domestic situation that he would have killed me from.
We
there's
unalive
good
you on
We don't want to
TikTok.
talk about that.
too.
We don't want to talk about how the cops showed up and they tracked him down and they arrested him.
I would hope
I
that
mean-
you could have called a neighbor, a friend, a
Yeah.
brother, a father. I would hope that anybody that you would have called would have saved you from that situation.
Right.
You know what? I don't have anybody close by. You know who I had? I had the police. I had Ocean Springs Police Department that showed up. You know what? They showed up the next day with compassion
Okay,
to
but here's
take my report.
yeah. So here's the thing though. Why was that man acting in that behavior? Is an oppressive system, and that needs to be corrected because what you're doing is you're
He
calling on the
acted that way because of an oppressive system. He acted
Yeah.
that way
Yes.
because he's a belligerent drunk.
Yeah,
That needed to be
and
controlled.
look, abuse is abuse, and I'm not, again, like I said, so yeah, decenter your situation from that and understand that man himself is a product of the system that he was raised in, as in we push
No,
alcohol and all that
he
type of
was a
stuff.
blatant criminal, and I later found out that he was on the domestic terrorist watch list. So how about that?
Okay, so he himself needs help. He needs, instead of us funding
So-
police officers and stuff, he needs to be in some type of therapy. He doesn't need police officers. He needs therapy. He needed therapy
I
20
needed a
years ago.
police officer that night, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about before that. See, you're missing the
Okay, but
context.
I needed a police officer that night, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
Alabama, like, let me ask you a question. I feel like we kind of agree on certain things. We just go about things a different way. Like, what good is I think I asked this before, but like, what good is a law if you don't enforce that law?
Exactly.
what good is a law if you don't enforce that law?
Yeah, like, what good is a law if you don't make sure that people are complying with said laws?
Well, I don't unalive people. I don't have DV charges. I don't speak over. I don't holler at people that I'm, romantically interested in, or just platonic friends or anything of that nature. I don't do those types of things. I don't do that abusive, oppressive behavior because I've learned and I've healed and I've been to therapy and all that type
But
of
other
stuff.
people
And
haven't.
I understand that other people
do
haven't.
that.
Wait. Shh.
Don't hush me.
So what we're doing is we're highlighting a need for a system to be in place that is not oppressive here. What we're
No,
doing is
we need police that show up when somebody shows
No.
out.
No, we need people not to show out. We don't need people to investigate a murder. We need people not to get murdered. And that's what y'all are missing. Y'all are trying to fix the bullet wound instead of fixing the pew-pewing. And I'm using those theoretically and I'm using that as an analogy and in a real life scenario at the same time. So if you fix the problem before it becomes a problem, it's the same thing why people are always talking about raising their children. Raise your children to be grown adult humans that are loving, kind, empathetic, and nurturing, right? Don't raise your children to be grown bullies and assholes and all that type of stuff. So therefore, don't whoop your child because that's abusive by nature. When you whoop your child, you're teaching your child that you can hit other people. So some of those children grow up and they think that when they get hit, that's love because that's what their parents did to them to show them love. So they grew up good. Or you're showing them that people hit people to get a reaction out of them. So then they grow up to be abusers.
But you're hoping that everyone has your same.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, why can't we like have both? Why can't we have police and then enforce these good morals onto people?
We got police right now, so enforce the good morals on them right now.
Yeah, but we're always gonna need police regardless. Like you're like I'm Jeff. One thing I like about you, you try to look for the best in people, but like not everyone has your moral standard, brother.
Brother, I'm not looking for the
Definitely.
worst.
You know what,
I want
Jeff?
all y'all to do great. I want all y'all to do great. I want the
I
whole world
want
to be great.
everybody to be great as well.
Yeah. So again,
But they aren't.
well here.
I
So
wish
here's
that-
And people are people.
here, no
And,
here
and
no
you
people.
can't make people be good people. It doesn't matter. You can't love them enough to make them be good people. There's nothing that you can do to make bad people be good people.
So you give up on society.
you
That's
have
great.
to have
You give up on
police
society.
to help that,
No.
to save the people that are
Police-
good people.
Police are perpetual violence creators. Like if you're
No, they aren't. No, they aren't.
Wait, if you're a black man in the United States,
I don't
And-
want to hear a black man.
because you're a white woman, that's why you don't want to hear anything about a black man and his oppression because you're a white woman, and that in itself is racist. You see what I'm saying? Like you're centering yourself in your white woman problems instead of societal's problems. So you're allowing yourself to be oppressed
You
by
muted
nature.
me, and I am in a relationship.
Well,
I'm not muting
Alabama,
you, but
how do you
somebody
feel
is
about
muting
black police officers then? Because my father's
I am in
works
a
law enforcement, he's
relationship
black.
with a black male,
I
and you want to keep
don't
muting me.
tokenize your boyfriend in this scenario.
Now, Alabama, how do you feel about black police officers?
Oh, they uphold the system of oppression, right? It's the same thing that I feel about like black Trump supporters.
Okay.
You know, like they like they're just in they're against themselves in that, right? So like you know, and don't get me wrong, I've looked, I'll tell the whole panel since we've been talking about it, I've looked at becoming a police officer myself because I thought that I could help change the system by being a good one, you know, but if you're operating within the system
I
that's
wish you would. I wish you
no,
would.
absolutely not, because I'm not
All I
gonna
have
wear
to say
that.
is, Jeff, you're a piece of shit, and I hate to say that I ever thought you were a friend.
Well, all right then. Did you get that out there? Are you okay?
You know, I don't agree with that. I think you have a view that is a little bit of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I'll keep saying that.
No,
I do agree with you
Can I
okay,
say
so
about
look,
something?
yeah,
the corruption. I absolutely agree with you about the corruption, but I think throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying all police officers are bad, I do not agree with.
yeah,
I
and they
don't
are.
think you said that once, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, all
okay.
cops are bad. All cops are bad.
Okay.
Yeah, if they're a cop, they're bad. Now I'm not saying y'all need to tweak that a little bit. I'm not saying that the person themselves, that their moral character, their judgment is not bad,
It's the
but
system.
they're operating as a bad role inside of our society, right?
So like,
I agree with you. I agree with you there.
You
That
know,
the system is corrupt. I can agree with you there. Absolutely. The system is very, very corrupt, just like all of our systems. But would I rather not have it? That's another question.
yeah, I would rather
I
not
mean,
have it because I'm far enough away from that. But let's hear about some other people. Yeah, it's all cops are bad. The other people on the panel, I know there's some that ain't spoke yet. I don't think, right?
Yeah, hi, how's it going? Can you hear me well?
Yeah. What's up?
Okay, so I mean, I do have a few things to say on this topic as well, but I'd originally clicked when you guys were just the two of you and were talking about racism.
Mm-hmm.
So my original idea for coming in isn't exactly on topic anymore. But
Gotcha.
about
That's
the
fine.
cops. I mean, I don't agree that we shouldn't have law enforcement, if that's what you said. But I do think that we need to just completely rework the entire system. Just basically, like, probably fire all of them and rehire them and train them as people who can de-escalate the situation instead of escalating everything. And then it's defund the police, not abolish the police, because they don't need things like tanks and whatever. You know what I mean? So like it just needs to be entirely reworked. But I do agree that people will always break laws, and we need some way to mitigate that.
Okay, so you're probably looking at current society. So what I would say, we don't need to retrain police officers to de-escalate situations. We need to teach children how to not be in said situations. You see, and we're not focusing on that right now, right? It's the same way, like you'll see this movement. I'm going to use nobody on the panel. We've not spoken about this, but LGBTQIA plus community is now in 2024 a lot more accepted in general society than they were 20 years ago, or 30 or 40, or even worse than that, right? And that's because society has humanized the community. So there aren't, and I'm not saying that they don't have anything, but they don't have as much hate crime, unalivings, and such committed against that community. Not saying that they don't have any, and not saying they don't have proportionally more than other groups, because they do 100%, especially trans people and especially people of color within inside of that community. So that's something that's just misogyny and racism and sexism all within inside society. But we've taught children, because they had children that were 14 and came out of the closet. They had people that were 16 that they went to school with. Their friend was all this type of stuff, right? So parents have made safe spaces for children, and then their children had friends and such as that. So they've destigmatized some of the society. I'm not saying that we're there all the way, but if we continued that a lot more vigorously, if we fired more cops and put more money into breaking childhood trauma relations and such as that in school age children, they would grow up to not be in these situations that need to be de-escalated. And that's on everything.
No lies heard there. Yep.
Yep. You know what I'm saying? So like we spend more money on military than anywhere else. And it's I saw a meme the other day from an old man that said, "I pay taxes for military and soldiers, not for student loans." And I said, that's the craziest idea that I've ever heard. He would rather his tax money go to oppressive systems of unaliving people than he would students. And I guess he's okay with public school, but he was specifically talking about college education stuff. I would rather have more college educated people within inside society.
well,
You know?
the thing with the military, The U.S. is we've kind of put ourselves in the spot where we have to remain the big dog, or else we're gonna
When you got to?
kind of get overpowered.
When you got to?
So
I think I mean, I do see what you're saying about the children 100%, but I think something that could take probably like 20 less years would be gun control, like immediately, because
control.
oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Sorry. Pew pew control, because we need cops to be able to be out there without their lives being like a second away from being ended, because they've been trained there in like a war basically against just civilians, and there's kind of a way that they have to be kind of in that mindset, because they can. I've seen instances of them just being ended very, very suddenly, and it's like
And what do you
devastating.
think pew pew control will
Yeah. So
do?
what my point for the pew pew control is that if we have less pew pews on the streets and in people's pockets potentially, then we can start to train the cops that they can de-escalate situations far more frequently, and kind of be less in the war zone mindset that they've been trained that they're supposed to be in.
To me, I'm sorry to interject. I think the pew pew control, if you look back at history, the reason that that was established as the Second Amendment was to protect against a militarized, out of control government. And there's, I mean, almost every school shooting that has happened has been unmarked black market pew pews. So to
That's
me,
not
it's
true.
like those criminals.
so
Very
do you mind if I
many.
interrupt
Like,
for a
very
second?
many. Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. So you're talking about the way the country was like 200 years ago, and that is with different technology, different like culture and everything, different everything, right?
Right.
But if we look at different countries across the world right now, they are applying these rules, and they are seeing very, very effective results.
What about the black market?
What about it? What?
like, what about people that are getting weapons illegally? What do we do with those?
I mean, the less pew pews out there, the better. So you
The
can
last
say,
school shooting we just had, the boy had unmarked, unregistered pew pews.
What-
we're
So
What's
gonna-
what
the
do we
issue
do
with that?
okay.
about
I
those black
don't-
market weapons?
I don't
What do
see
we
it
do
being
about
likely
that?
that we just
Because
completely
criminals will not follow the
nullify
law.
the
Criminals
problem.
never follow the law.
Okay, so hold on. I want to hold on. I want to take the panel back over real quick. Tim, I know what you're trying to explain, but they're just not allowing you to get it off. It's kind of like this. If I start a new diet, that doesn't mean that what I did in the past isn't going to affect today. But if I start a new diet and I continue the diet, then it's going to change, right? And I don't know how many people know about like regulations on cars, and we'll use this example. Exhaust emissions in California, in San Francisco, used to create smog clouds. What they used to call it? They had smog. I mean, they still have it now, but like the air was just crazy. And we did more Cadillac converters. New cars were regulated more. Old cars, you could still drive them, whatever. And that's the way it is today. Okay. But as new cars were purchased with certain provisions on them, things changed for that reason, right? And
So they
that's kind of
will
what Tim is
just
getting at. Like,
stop being
let's put some stuff
They
in
will
right.
stop being manufactured. Is that what you're saying?
No. Let's put some laws in right now. Common sense gun laws. Let's put them in right now, and that will help people that want to get guns legally can 100% get guns legally. Oh, no, I'm sorry, pew-pews. People, anything that's illegal, we will continue to do the same thing that we've done, and we will continue to try to get those off the streets and things of that nature. Not saying that we won't be 100% successful, but there's ones that we buy legally that turn illegal. I don't know who knows that and who doesn't know that. And again, you're trying to say that all crime happens from illegal things, and that's simply not the case. It's the same thing that people try to say about undocumented immigrants. Undocumented immigrants do all the unalivings and all of the breaks and all, but that's simply not true. That is not an accurate statement. So let's don't say that anymore. Not saying that they don't contribute a percentage, but they're definitely not more violent than American citizens.
You should look up a Jon Stewart clip about pew pew control. It's yeah, I think it's a pretty effective, like 3 minutes.
So like, what kind of firearms are we taking out? Like pistols, or I don't know if I could say. Or like, what about?
Or like automatic weapons, because I would love a world with no automatic weapons. That would be a dream. Amazing.
Absolutely.
But the fact and the reality is that those exist, and they use those in the military industrial complex. Those exist. So they're manufactured, they exist, and the thought that a criminal could get their hands on that, and I should have the right to defend myself. With
So now I think we're back to mitigation instead of nullifying everything wrong in the world. You know, like, sure, these things may still be out there no matter what we do, because the technology just exists now, and there's nothing we can do about that. But we can make laws that kind of, you know, dial it back a
my
bit.
problem with the laws is that it seems like the military is allowed to own those weapons, but me as a citizen, I'm not. I have a problem with that
Okay, so
because
what do
it
you
should be equal.
what are you advocating for? Because to begin with, you are very Second Amendment, 100%, and there should be no regulations on or anything like that.
I 100% advocate for the Second Amendment, that I should have access to equal weaponry that at least the U.S. military or other militaries around the world are allowed access to. I feel like
Yeah.
that's my right as a citizen. I should have that right.
You can go join the military if you wanted. If you wanted to go do that, if you wanted to, but you don't want to uphold the military complex. You called it that, so therefore you don't like the military complex, but you want to
I
be.
don't like the military complex at all. I think
Okay,
it's
then why do you
corrupt,
want
but
the
I
same
actually
weapons?
live in reality. I live in reality, and I know that that exists, and I would like the right to uphold my right to equal. I
So
don't know. I don't know.
So
Equal,
not 2
equal.
minutes, not 2 minutes ago, you said that you wanted to get rid of all assault weapons, but
What? No, I
because
didn't. What do
other
you mean?
people,
What did I say? I would not.
that's
Well,
not what you said.
I
But
said in a
Automatic
perfect world, none of this would exist. I wish so badly
So yeah,
that none of
I
this
paraphrased,
existed.
but yeah, that's effectively what I meant.
I think every human being wishes that none of this existed. I wish guns didn't exist, absolutely.
Right.
But
My
the fact
point
that they
was,
do, I want to be able to defend myself,
Okay, so
absolutely.
my
let me.
point was
So
about to be
wait.
that,
So let me just
yeah.
put a little smoke on that right quick, which means that you don't mind oppressive systems when you get to be the oppressor, and if someone else is operating oppression without you being involved, you want in on that shit. That's basically what you're
How
saying.
am
So
I
just
the oppressor?
just say it like that. That's all you want to do. But I want Jean to say something because she ain't spoken to me, and I think she was wanting to say something.
Oh,
Right,
we're
Jean?
so far from the topic I wanted to speak on, so
Oh,
I don't want to interrupt. You guys can
that's
continue, and
that's
I'll
okay.
join in.
We can move back to if you want to you know if you want to hit on the background here, right?
Well, I think Jeff's major point here is that, I'm sorry, Alabama's major point here is that if we spent half of the money that we spend on police, to the military, and all those other things into more social programs that are made to benefit children, programs that are made to benefit mothers, programs that are made to benefit men, both financially and mentally, that we would see that a huge majority of our issues would kind of, fall by the wayside. And I think like we're so stuck in the system that we're in now that we're not realizing that we can change it. Like as the collective, we can change it. We don't have to keep this system, but it takes a huge and major change. And I think that we spend so much money on the wrong areas. It's kind of like, how the medical system works now, right? A lot of times they are treating symptoms of a larger issue. And they'll give you all these pills and treat this issue, this issue, this issue without ever, really getting to the point of like, our food is poisoning us, and so many other things. So I think we have this like symptom mindset of we're trying to like treat all these small symptoms when we have, a huge
And
issue that's causing all of this.
yep, and I want to just say, like, in summary, so what that means is, like, if you don't like abortions at all, then you need to advocate for more SMEX education in high school, because SMEX education and talking about SMEX and protection and all that type of stuff lowers the abortion rate a lot. You prevented it from happening by never getting pregnant. There you go.
I agree with you on that point. We should probably focus on SMEX Ed more.
And mental health more, because mental health more stops all the unalivings with pew-pews. Mental health. We should have mental health in high school. We should have when two people become pregnant, because there's a father always, not just a mother, they should mandatory have a class to go to about raising children, because no one knows how to raise children. And my daughter was born when I was 19 years old. I'm 35 now. I would raise a daughter or son or completely different than how I would have at 19. And I think that if there's any parent in the chat or on the panel tonight, they would also sympathize with that same thing. You know much more now having raised said child than you did before you had said children. And I could have a 4-hour class on like, don't do this and do that and do more of this, and it'd be great for you. No one did that for me. And we're stuck in this capitalistic world where there's no time for that. Capitalism doesn't care about that. Capitalism provides capital. It cares about property, not people. So it relegates you to a number instead of a person. And therefore you get, because look, here's the thing. If you have mental health problems, that's a good thing for capitalism. If you don't finish college or you don't get to go to college, that's good for capitalism, because now you're forced into where society can put you, not where you want to go. And that's kind of what Gene's saying. Like, if you don't have access to abortion, you have to raise a child. Now you don't have access to certain jobs because you have to have daycare and you have to have childcare. You have to have somewhere that you can't move around freely because you have a child to take care of. All of these things go together to keep people oppressed.
So I find that really interesting, because you talk about college like that's not part of the system that you're so against. College is an indoctrination station. It is such an indoctrination station. They teach doctors the same thing. They regurgitate the same thing over and over again. It actually brainwashes people more and more to go to college. I think.
Did you go to high school?
Absolutely, yeah. I went to college too, and I dropped out.
But so you were indoctrinated with the same high school, though? That's indoctrination to you?
Absolutely. And then I woke up out of that indoctrination, and I was like, oh my God, everything they've told me, the history, it's all lies. It's all BS.
Cool. Okay.
I think I see what she's saying.
So the school complex, it needs to be dismantled.
Absolutely. Yeah, the school system is in complete disarray.
But the cop system isn't, and the military. You agree with the military, but you said that we needed all the cops. So we need to completely, the school complex needs to be completely dismantled. The military complex needs to be completely dismantled. But we need to keep all the cops. Make it make sense,
No,
y'all.
I actually completely agree with you that all systems are corrupt. I completely agree with you. And I 100% the school systems are just as indoctrinated and corrupt.
Hey,
As
we
you're
gotta do.
speaking about those other systems, the school system is the exact same.
Well, I see what she's saying, Alabama, because I'm in college right now. I'm a junior. But she's saying that like from a young age, kids are kind of expected to go to college. They really don't really have a choice to think for themselves. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of what she's getting at there. You know,
Well,
that's what she means. I think. I think
I
that's
don't
what
have
she
any
means.
college education.
Right, but I'm not saying obviously not everybody like gets pushed to go to college, but more or less everyone kind of gets told that after you graduate high school, you're supposed to do this, supposed to go for 4 years,
Yeah,
go
I
on
was
to
told
your
that
like.
too. But you know what happened? Capitalism happened. So I didn't get to choose to go to college or not. I didn't get the idea of whether I could drop out of school or not. That wasn't for me to decide. Capitalism pushed me into. I was working since I was 14. I was paying W-2 money since I was 14. There's a lot of people that are just like that. You don't get the option of that. That's a privilege to be able to go to college and get educated. And I'm not saying that the system doesn't need to be have to be restructured and such as that, but we should have access to higher education 100%, right? I do want to stop and say that I got some new subscribers and I appreciate that. We love that. My sub only content actually talks about health and fitness and how all this plays into a healthy lifestyle, because if you want to dismantle these systems that we're talking about, you need to show up as your best person. So you need to eat nutritiously, you need to drink your water, you need to get your sleep, you need to have exercise, all these types of things. But capitalism doesn't provide for that. So we're trying to work it in and still operate within inside this capitalistic society. Somebody was talking about that a minute ago. I want to add that in. But anyway, I'll do now that I got four.
I completely agree with like most of what was said here. Like the education system as it is right now, clearly deeply rooted in capitalism, clearly kind of leaning towards indoctrination more and more each day. But education, just that word by itself, very good thing. We need it.
100%.
So like just by the definition of education in a vacuum, we need that. So
Well,
we should just do whatever we can to fix these systems, but we can't just abolish like college as a whole. It's
Yep.
education. We need that.
And I actually want to speak on this topic right here because this in itself, this live and lives like this, these are education and for educational purposes to some degree, right? Because we're discussing as a community, but it's free 99 compared to go. And I'm not comparing this to a college at all, right? But striking conversations and having this thought process is destabilizing the complex of capitalism within inside of education. That's also why they don't push things like or they push more things like football and such as that, because if we're talking about and discussing those things, we aren't talking and discussing about how the economy works or how we can do this and how we can move around more freely and such as that. We're not having those conversations. We're talking about what the Steelers did, you know, and it's distracting us from the real problem, which is the system that's in place, this classist, sexist, misogynistic society that we've built, that we need to hit the patriarchy in itself. We gotta break it down, you know.
well,
The
make a
free
fair point, I
exchange of
guess.
ideas has always been detrimental to the status quo.
Yeah, it has 100%, you know. So we've got to do better on aligning ourselves with the society that we want, right? Because the society I want, I should have been able to go to college. I'll never get that opportunity. But if I push for other people to do that, that makes me feel good. Children, next generation, third generation. Use any other oppressed people, like people that were unalived during racial justice riots, the Million Mile March, the walk across the bridge in Selma, all these people, I guarantee you that they would look at today's society with VP Harris weeks away from being in the White House and smile and grin. Not only is she a person of color, she's a black woman, she's a woman on top of that. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't even imagine the pride that those people would feel. There's people alive right now that couldn't go into businesses because of the color of their skin, and they're seeing someone run for the White House with the same color skin they have. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy to think about. And so if we're not advocating for the change, then it's not gonna fucking change, right?
Right. Well, what was I gonna say?
I don't know what was gonna say.
Well, I'm trying to. No, I like a brain fart.
I wanted to make a quick point while he's thinking that like people forget that Ruby Bridges, she's only 70 years old, right? So she was the first she was the
First
Yeah,
African
yeah.
American girl to go to public education, I think,
right.
something like
And
that.
so like in just her lifetime, look at all the change. I think people have such a negative view on, you know, today's society, but like it's very possible that in our lifetime we could make a change. And I think too many people have kind of like a defeated attitude and feel like, you know, there's nothing we can do. It's just going to be that way. People are going to do this, people are going to do that. But I think really our policies and laws and you know, just the general structure of America has led to a downfall because that's all that we can get out of a system that is inherently oppressive. We can't get anything positive out of that. And so dismantling that could only be a positive in my mind.
100%, 100%. And also, and that's why we can't we can't gloss over things like, do y'all know who Unalive Tony is, that comedy show?
No.
They do all sort of skits on here and Facebook and all that type of stuff, but he's a guy that has a stand-up comedy show anyway. He was at a Trump rally the other day and making very racist jokes out loud at a political campaign. That
I saw that guy.
Yeah. Okay. That guy has a whole comedy show. He has a whole thing. I'm hoping that it falls apart because we cannot continue to support people that are like that push this narrative of racism within inside of just open in society. But the term Jim Crow comes from white people making racist plays and skits and comedy. There was a character named Jim Crow. That's where Jim Crow comes from. So it's people,
can I say something real quick?
Well, I just reckon you can. I wasn't talking or nothing. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You can go ahead if you want.
Or can
Oh
I?
my God.
I appreciate
Please,
you.
please.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me space in my own space. As I was saying, Jim Crow is brought from racism, right? And there's nothing on law on paper, I think, that says Jim Crow, but I mean, we all know now that it was a time of large oppression, and it was grouped together. It was Jim Crow laws and itself collectively. Not a lot of people got to see that play. And then the ones that went, of course, laughed and such as that. They upheld the system of racism within inside the United States. So when people support somebody like Unalive Tony, they're supporting the system of oppression within inside the United States. But now in 2024, we get to see it here on TikTok, on our social media apps, and all this type of stuff. We get to see this playing out in real time, so we know how to move around accordingly, who we need to align with, who we need to support, and such as that. So the social change happens much faster. You see what I'm saying? It also doesn't, with cameras now, it doesn't have the opportunity to be misrepresented like back in the day with newspaper articles and such as that. There was a lot of misrepresentation about that. You know.
So I wanted to bring up Lincoln, the presidency of Lincoln, and I don't know if you've done a lot of research or know about the Lincoln presidency, where they're fighting over states should have the right for slavery. Lincoln was a Republican candidate, and the Democrats were the ones that voted for slavery.
We all we all did 8th grade history.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting fact. So when people are so like Democrat versus Republican, like policies can change. You know what I mean?
So you don't know about the political party flip? You don't know about the flip that happened or not?
And there's a flip that's happening now with like RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and so many others are flipping now. Do you not know about that?
Yes, I know.
flip right now. So it's a flip. So cool.
You literally are not making any sense in this. So you support states' rights also.
Yeah, I do.
That's racist.
Why is it racist to support states
States'
creating their
rights.
own laws?
Because these laws are oppressive in nature. And so when you're saying that you're supporting individual states to be able to make oppressive laws, that's literally what the Confederate War was fought over, was states having the rights to oppress people. So, and you said it earlier when we were talking about abortion, you think that abortion should be a state right. That's oppressive. You're
It
saying,
gives
well, you can
less
do it
power
over
to
there.
the federal government, which you're all about.
The what?
It gives less power to the federal government, which you're all about.
No,
Yes.
I want less oppression. And if it takes the government to do that, then that's what it takes to do that. I want less
So you're for
oppression.
the same thing.
No, less oppression. You're for more oppression. That's what you're happening
No,
for.
because Roe v. Wade taking in
5 foot. I saw you. Let this lady be white woman behavior for a second. What about Roe v. Wade taking in what?
You're muted, by the way, Mountain.
I had to unmute her. Somebody muted her. What about Roe v. Wade?
Roe v. Wade getting taken out of the hands of the federal government and putting in hands of the state gives less power to the federal government, which you're all about.
Okay, so
Right?
so you think the Civil Rights Act 1965 needs to be taken out of the federal and put it back to the states, or what?
No, because that's one law that's not even the topic we're talking about. But
It's the same. It's the same applying.
in terms of should we give more power to the states versus the federal government, I agree we can and should give more power to the states. But you're weaponizing that and using it as like, well, look at this one law they did back in whatever. And you're
Back in
not
whatever. Back in whatever. Okay.
back in whatever. Like, I mean, I can give you dates like
Oh, that's
what,
the Second Amendment.
1867. Like, I don't know. I can get on my laptop and research it.
For what?
But
what
you're
law?
all about
1867 is a really interesting year, by the way. It's some good
it's a
history.
great year. It was an amazing year. So let's
I
go
can
back
wait.
and let's
I
actually
can
do the
I can
history.
I can tell you something very significant about 1867 if you
Let's
didn't
hear it.
previously know.
I would love that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, good brother Jeff, how are you?
What's up, my brother Jay?
I am very well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good.
So 1867. Well, you know what? Let's not do 67. Let's go a little bit further if you don't mind.
Do you have a laptop in front of you? Because I can get one in front of me too, and then we can change the game, I guess. But,
Look,
I do have a secondary device, but give me one moment. Not 1867. It's just I was so excited when you started talking about history that I wanted
yes,
to
let's
chime
talk
in.
about history. Let's talk about how the Democrats voted for slavery. Let's talk about
There
that.
we go. Beautiful. All right, you led me right to it. All right. So, are you familiar with President Rutherford B. Hayes?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that sucks. Okay, so in the
Are you
election of
aware of President Lincoln? Have you researched that?
yes,
And
this is
his
actually gonna
movement to get rid of slavery? Like,
yes.
let Jay talk, man. Let Jay
It's
talk.
it's okay because this is gonna tie in perfectly.
Hmm.
The election in 1876, Rutherford B. Hayes was the Republican candidate. He was in the North, of course. What happened in 1876 is they wasn't able to decide who won the presidency. From there, there was something in 1877 called a Great Compromise. What that did was the Southern Democrats, the Dixiecrats at the time, told the Republicans, hey, Rutherford B. Hayes could be the next president. We only want you to do one thing. The Republicans said, what? Well, presidency, yeah, we'll take it. What do you want us to do? Said, well, we want you to remove the Union soldiers from the South.
And they wanted
And
to
you,
secede.
give me a moment. I thought you knew a little bit about your history. That's not true.
Yeah, I
So
do.
what happened is when the Republicans moved the Union soldiers from the South, it ended Reconstruction. What happened when you end Reconstruction? Well, all of those freedmen who were now getting that 40 acres that they were talking about, they had to give it back. The ones who were getting public office, they had to get out. The ones who were just now acquiring land, and homes, had to get out of them. That was the same Republican Party that, fought so much to free the slaves, sold us out. 1877.
The Republicans, yeah, and the Democrats were the ones that voted for states' rights to hold slavery in the states, and people switched parties, right? They
They
switched, just
Well,
like
wait,
what's
give me a
happening
moment.
today.
The switch actually began a little bit after that. And you know why? There was a movement within the Republican Party called the Lily White Movement. That's Lily. And what the Lily White Movement was all about was moving all the black people out of the Republican Party. They
Yeah,
continued
they
to do so.
switched.
Give me
Exactly
a
what I
moment.
just said.
They continued to do that in the 1870s, right? Until we got around the 1930s, where there were, who was that? The very popular president, if anybody can remember. Somebody here is smarter than I am. Nevertheless. No, it was the guy who was like president for like a couple times and a long time. Franklin V. Roosevelt. That's him.
Roosevelt, okay.
Yes. So with some of the laws that Roosevelt was about, some of them kind of socialist in nature, by the way, black people was like, wait a minute, this Republican Party that, fought to get us free, even though they sold us out in 1877, this Roosevelt guy who isn't a Republican, these laws seem kind of interesting. That continued to move from the 30s to the 40s to the 50s till we got to the 60s in the civil rights movement, and we
Right.
continued from there.
Right. Well, I really appreciate your knowledge of history. So what I said is not untrue, right?
What is the basis in one sentence of what you said so that we can be on the same page?
The basis of what I said is that Lincoln was the president. He was so hated and so shamed in the media, and he wanted to abolish and end slavery, and he was a Republican candidate, and the
Perfect.
Democratic states were
Can
the
I
ones.
can I tell you something else about Lincoln that people fail to mention?
Please do, yeah.
He didn't give a fuck about freeing slaves. He didn't
Thank
care.
you.
In fact, he said himself, if he could do it without freeing us, he would be more than happy to do so.
I have not researched that or heard that, but I believe your perspective and I respect your perspective, but that is the truth of the matter. And a lot of people
Yes.
switch from Democratic to Republican because of the matter of slave ownership. That is
He
my only
didn't
point.
he didn't even abolish slavery in all the states. He only did it in the
That is
southern
also
states
true.
for a military and an economic defense strategy. Like, it wasn't for any morality. It wasn't because he
Right.
was a good guy. It was just because he knew that would cripple the South economically.
And maybe that's true, and I hear that and I respect that. My
No,
only
no, no,
point
no.
in
You don't
making
hear and
that,
respect that. You
no,
don't
I
hear and
do
respect
hear
that
that and
because here's the
respect
thing.
that,
The same
ma'am. And
time,
my
no,
only point in making that,
no. The thing that you're missing out here is you want to focus on Lincoln and slavery and all that good stuff, but at the same time,
my only
Lincoln is
point in
also
making
no.
that is that people
No, you've been derailing this entire fucking thing this entire time.
people conflict.
Lincoln has also, at the same time, he was quote unquote freeing slaves, like you so want to believe was so important. He was also, at the same time, massacring and genociding indigenous people all across this territory. So
That's a fact.
you can sit and on this high horse of, oh, that he was a Republican. Okay, cool. And at the same
I'm
time,
on zero
look
high
up the
horse,
Dakota
babe.
38, ma'am. Look up the Dakota 38 and the ways that the Dakota and Lakota people still try to honor their people and their losses. So disrespectfully, get wrecked with all your bullshit that's been up here this
I'm
entire
also
time.
Native
You
American, so I don't need a
don't know
white
a
woman to
single
tell me what
fucking
the fuck
thing.
to think.
No. You don't know a single thing that you've been talking about this entire time. You've been bouncing all over every fucking board, moving the goalposts, which has been absolute bullshit with nothing of substance.
You just want to mute me without listening to me talk, and that's
We've been
valid. That's
listening
your
to you
only
talk.
way.
We've been listening to you talk, and you don't have a good viewpoint on any of this. Jay, as a black man from the South, he doesn't research this for fun. He researches because he lives it.
Pretty
These
much.
things affect him right now today. And the fact that you want to say, I respect that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, that's in your privilege, and you're not even realizing what your white woman privilege is right now. It's crazy behavior.
So funny you call me white woman privilege when you have no idea what the fuck my ancestry is.
See,
Literally
Jeff,
fuck off.
if somebody could mute her again, I just want her to know a little bit more about her precious Republican Party. Nixon, the way that Trump talks today has been a plan for a very long time. It's been a plan since at least the 50s and 60s. In fact, if anybody is interested, you can look up the Southern Strategy. What the Southern Strategy was the Republican Party's plan to approach getting more white voters in the South. And what they did is appeal to the discontent at the time of civil rights reforms and racial integration. See, it wasn't so much overt racism at the time. The strategy was more like on dog whistles, specifically, and I'm not lying when I say this, you can find the words when you look up the Southern Strategy, states' rights and law and order. That's very clearly in the Southern Strategy. It resonated with Southern white voters in the South during the 50s and 60s. And that's how they began to get their stronghold from that point to where we are today. As a matter of fact, Richard Nixon's vice president, Spiro Agnew, once said the thing that he's most proudest of is the way they divided the country. This, again, like you said, Jeff, I don't look this shit up for fun. I have to know this.
Right. And I just want to add a little sauce on that topic. Jay, when I get done with this book, man, I'm gonna give it to you to read. But it talks a lot about that. It's white poverty, just because of like how we got where we're at right now with a lot of people being disenfranchised. But in this book, he says instead of it being Jim Crow, it's now Jonathan Crow, PhD. So instead of it being overt racism, they just slid it in with a little sophistication on top of it. And that's how we got where we're at today. You know what I'm saying? And that's
I like that.
You like that, don't you? That's a good word.
See, look, the thing is, when people talk about states' rights, for people in the South who give a damn, you know immediately where our minds go. In fact, there's a clip that's floating around now from somebody who debates very well on here, a brother by the name of Dean. He was on a podcast with, I could say it's not even coded, with a racist white woman. Yeah. And when she was talking about what she think about states' rights, what he said, and what's crazy, Jeff, is he used our state. He said, so if everybody in Alabama wanted slavery back, you would be okay with that. And she said very clearly, yeah, because if everybody in the state wants it, then that's what it would be. I get when people say, I don't want federal government overreach. Look, I understand that. And before I continue, I say this again, like I say on every panel, I'm not even a Democrat. I'm not. Liberal isn't far left enough for me. Right. But when you say states' rights, you have to know what it is that I hear as a Black American man in Alabama. But also, I get that you don't like the ideal of far-reaching federal oversight from the government. However, if we leave it up to the states individually, we might as well not be the United States of America. It's that simple.
Hey, Jay, I just want to say I completely agree with you that it's absolutely insane to think that a state could vote for slavery in 2024. That's actually insane.
That's not insane. I
You
can't
really
promise
think
you
that
that's not insane.
you really
I'm
think
willing.
that
I
people
would
wouldn't
look.
allow
I
that?
would tell you this: as a truck driver, I drove into Harrison, Arkansas, a couple of years ago. When I drove into this town, they had a sign, a billboard, as soon as you get in there, about white is right, and on the
Yes,
other
and
side it
I
said white
lived
pride.
in a super rural place in Colorado where they
hmm
had a noose hanging from the tree, and it was the most disgusting thing I've ever
And I
met.
believe you.
I
So let
have
me
a
give you an example.
Israeli husband, and I have never experienced
Oh,
so much racism
please
as
don't do your
I've
husband like that.
no, I've
Listen,
never
let me
experienced so
tell
much
you
racism as I
something
have
about
since I've been with
Alabama.
him, and it's disgusting.
Let me tell you something about Alabama. We presently, one of our senators is a dumbass former football coach. And I say dumbass clearly because honestly, if you look up most of the questions they've asked that man, you'll see that he's quite literally dumb. The senator we had before him, Senator Doug Jones. A bit of background about Doug Jones: he's a lawyer. Doug Jones is famous for trying and convicting the men who are responsible for bombing the church in Birmingham that underlied 4 little black girls. If you have that on your record, I would believe that any office you would run for, any American who believes in America and unity and all of this stuff would say, you know what? We ain't even got to go any further. That's the candidate, he's going to win. Alabama was like, oh, fuck no, that doesn't represent our values. Got him up out of there quick. The only reason why he won is because the person he was running against was so deplorable that the Republicans wouldn't even vote for him. So to believe
Wow.
that we're that far removed from a state having the option to vote for something like that, ooh, very short-sighted. If they had the chance, they would do it.
Well, thank you for changing my view on that, because hearing that, it puts like pins and needles in my body. That is literally freaking disgusting. And I'm so sorry. Like I guess I don't see and maybe that's just my little niche of people I'm around. I've seen racism, and it's shocking to me and disgusting to me, and maybe that is my white privilege.
I can tell you what it is, but it's going to make you uncomfortable.
Please do.
Privilege.
So I hear what you just said, and I'm literally disgusted by it. And like I was trying to say, I'm Native. I'm Apache. My father's full-blooded Apache, and my mother's white.
Look,
And
look. Let me
I
hurt your
believe you.
feelings. Let me
and
hurt your
my
Mountain
I
View,
just
Mountain
wanted
Vibe,
to
Mountain Vibe.
finish off. Can I please just say my one other statement is when I married my
5 foot. For all intents and purposes, in this conversation especially, you're white. You are white.
and
You
why
get
is
you
white
get
a
white
dirty thing to
privilege.
be?
The
Because
what?
that's racism too. Why are
You
you
get
racist against me because I'm white?
you can't be racist against white people. I hate to break your heart, but
Are
you
you
can't do that.
sure?
I'm
Are you
positive you
Yes,
can't.
100%.
I'm positive you can't. But you're displaying what we call white woman behavior. You're like, oh, I didn't know, and you're rolling your words at certain times.
so
It's
there's
super
no such thing
disrespectful.
as racism against white people.
It's there's not
It is not.
no. The words don't even make sense. That don't make sense.
Oh,
No.
I work for a native I work for a Native nonprofit. My chosen family is Native. You cannot sit here and come up and tell me that your father is
Your
full Apache and
chosen
that you're half
family?
Apache
What the
and that
fuck are
you
you
do not
even
know what
saying?
racism
Your
is.
chosen
You
family?
do not, do not come up here and
Your
say, when I
chosen
work with
family
Native
is the
people
epitome of
every
white
fucking day,
privilege. Your
that you
chosen
have
family?
never
Like, what are you
seen
even fucking
racism.
saying? That's the
You
epitome
are
of
so wildly
whiteness.
disingenuous. This
That's
is
the epitome of
bonkers.
whiteness. Like, what are you even saying? Are you serious?
So
That's
wait,
the epitome of
wait for the
whiteness.
people.
Are you
So wait for Mountain and the other people here who may not have gotten this, because trust me, since VP Harris has been in the race, this has been something I've had to explain to a ton of people. Some of them in which I promise you I can understand why you didn't know it previously. Others just rejected it altogether. Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary individuals, there's a difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. Nationality is a simple one. It is simply where a person's legal belonging to a country, where they have citizenship. That's their nationality. Ethnicity is about your cultural identity, including language. It includes your heritage. It includes tradition, religion, etc., etc. Race. This is the one that you know.
No,
Race. This is the one that you should remember. Race is about your physical traits, literally your skin
This
color.
bitch literally
Oh,
just
give
said
me
her
a moment.
chosen family
Give me
is
a moment. I
native.
look.
Like, can
Hey,
we take a
I'm
moment
not.
and like
I'm
pray
not
for
speaking
this?
on that. I'm not speaking on that. I'm simply talking about the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. There are people in whom you like she said, and I'm going to take her word for it. If she has, not even if, I take it out, native, indigenous, that is more ethnicity. That's more of your culture. A lot of people, however, depending on who your parents are, great grandparents, et cetera, how it's passed down and how your skin color presents to society. According to the Dutch man who came up with the ideal of race in the 1600s, you are going to be categorized by the way your skin color presents. So if somebody called you a white woman, it's simply because that is the way your skin tone presents to the rest of society. It's that easy.
The fact that she was going that crazy over chosen family, if you marry someone with children, aren't those children your chosen family? They are the people you choose.
That's a good
Your
point.
chosen family are the people that you choose to identify with and love and accept as family. It is not really a bad term. Also, I wanted to say, and I'm not saying this to be funny, but if I was her, I would get a DNA test because I also thought I was Native American. I have great grandmother that was full Native American. Did the DNA test? Guess what? My grandmother and her mother were white. They were $5 Indians. If you don't know what that is, look it up. A lot of people that think they have Native American blood don't actually have Native American blood, but that doesn't change anything. And I think if, as a Native, she shouldn't even have the takes that she has. So I don't even know why she tried to use that to like push
That's also a
herself.
good point.
yeah, that's what. If anybody's weaponizing wording like that, like even if they do have any type of indigenous peoples, they're not practicing indigenous peoples things. You know, like
Yeah.
they're not. You know,
Can
they're
I?
not.
I'd also like to make it like super clear too that my first big red flag when people claim indigeneity is when they use the term Native or Native Americans. First red flag.
Could
Yeah.
I
So.
offer just some clarification of where I'm coming from too? Because so here's the thing. I do work for a Native led and founded nonprofit. My chosen family is Native. And when I'm in Native spaces, I'm a white lady, but you know, when I introduce people, I say, you know, my name is Amy, I'm Soyapo, my chosen family, I'm held in love and accountability by my Nimipu family, right? They're Nez Perce. And when I am in those places and when I'm in those spaces and when I'm in places like this, I am accountable to them all the time, everywhere, right? And the thing is that my chosen family, the people who love me, I am it is such a huge honor to be loved and cared for by such powerful matriarchs, by such powerful people who resist colonization every fucking day. And so to have someone like that come up and say, you know, the things that she said, it goes against me and everything that I know, in the way that I am accountable and loved by those communities, and the way that I go to reservations across Idaho, the way that, you know, wherever I'm at in Indian country, I am accountable for everything that I say and every way that I show up. And she was not showing up in a good way. And there's no way that from where I sit, I'm going to allow that to happen when I see it. So, you know, Jeff, thank you for allowing me to come up and say something. And also, you know, I hope that I always show up with a good heart and a good way in those kinds of spaces, especially when it comes to speaking about communities that I'm not a part of, but that I love and care for.
Right. And we thank you for coming up and speaking peace, and at least highlighting how much work that we still have to do as white people in the decolonization and the oppression that we push on a daily basis to groups that aren't us. And that's really what this highlighted.
Hey, so sorry to interrupt if anybody wanted to talk, but it's kind of circled back to kind of where we were when I'd first requested.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering
it.
if I can just take a moment to say something about kind of where we're at now. So I was in a live a few days ago that asked a question that I didn't have an answer for, but I've just written something out that I'm wondering if I'm allowed to just say it out right now.
Well,
it is relevant.
Hold on just a second, Tim. I do just want to take a second and just, I mean, there's 100 people in here and it's a full panel. And I would just like to let's just take a cleanser for like a half a second and know that no matter if we're in community, online or in person or anything like that, like at the end of the day, we're trying to push a narrative of love and acceptance for all types of people. And we want to call out problematic behavior. Not that we need to highlight great behavior, but we do need to call out problematic behavior when it happens and know that that isn't the goal of community and that isn't the goal of being in community. So, you know, I appreciate the labor that has happened on this panel from people that did not have to participate in that labor to create this space. And yes, now we can change the topic from what we were speaking about, oppression of non-white people, and move into your topic of the background here, which is abortion all 9 months. Saying you're a good man is toxic. Capitalism hurts almost everyone, and that includes you.
I think
Yes,
actually my topic's much closer to where we were just a second ago. The question that they had in the live was, I'm paraphrasing, but why do white people get more upset by being called racist than by racism itself?
I saw that somewhere.
So if you don't mind, I just wrote something out here. So people want to believe they're fundamentally good. So when a white person witnesses racism and we feel outrage at the sight, we can feel righteous in knowing we're on the right side morally. However, when justifiably called out on our internalized racism, it begins with a feeling that, or it brings a feeling that we try harder to avoid. It's a feeling that we are part of the problem rather than part of the solution. And the defensiveness that follows is an effort to return to that feeling that was felt when we felt aligned with the side we know is righteous.
I like that. And I do agree with that. I don't like being called a problematic man. I don't like being part of the all men. I don't like being part of the all racist. I don't like it. And that's why my platform is what it is because it's made me uncomfortable in a couple of times. And it's made me uncomfortable in a couple of lives, having conversations, but it's definitely helped me move the ball of unpacking my internalized misogyny and my internalized racism And even though I've been in community, my internalized homophobia, because there's still some parts in that community that I'm just not around enough, and I needed to unpack those things and still working on those things. And I think that when people realize that, like, it's in your best interest to feel uncomfortable at times, you can't make, or you, a lot of people don't even like to say they made the system, but you can't participate in the system as one of the oppressors and not feel uncomfortable by going through stages of unpacking. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. That's how growth happens. And like you said, a lot of people they want to feel good about it. They don't want to go through the work of feeling uncomfortable about it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Whew. Good Lord, though. All right. Does anybody on the panel want to talk on something?
I would start with the capitalism thing. The reason why I didn't get into the abortion in all 9 months is because I'm a man, and I don't really feel it's my place to be trying to advise women on what they should and shouldn't do with their bodies. It's really that simple. It is astounding that we are this far in society where there are a number of people who, I don't know, man. I really feel like that one should be really easy to come out with. Even when you get into the point of, talking about, oh, well, what is it? 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. Hey, look, bro, I'm I'm not doing that. And if everything that I just said wasn't clear enough, I am absolutely pro-choice. I don't understand why anybody is trying to make anybody else do something or not do something with their own bodies. I don't get it, because trust me, if there was something in place trying to tell men what they can and can't do with their bodies, it would be a war.
100%. 100%.
Nothing less than that.
Well, Jay, I've brought up a solution to men multiple times. If they don't like ABs, that's fine. Just mandatory vasectomies at the age of 13. And they don't like it because, Jay, it's their body, their choice,
But see, the thing is, the vasectomy idea isn't even a bad one, considering that it's reversible and it could be done.
Vasectomy is not a bad idea, but aborting a baby.
I don't know. I'm sorry, Mountain.
Absolutely
I'm sorry, Mountain.
wild.
Hi. I don't know that we were having even this conversation just yet. So, anyways, Matt, hey, nice picture. I see that you've changed your picture since Jeff called out your hairline. So you kind of have the sun covering your hairline.
I wanted a better picture so he could say I have hair again. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's classified as a better picture. Just another picture. So, anyways.
Wait, no, Avery, you
Say
can't.
about capitalism. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was about to talk about capitalism. So you guys be prepared to play the music that would be associated with this idea. Look, capitalism is harmful because it prioritizes profit over people. And what this does is it leads to inequality, it leads to exploitation. I think by focusing on competition, capitalism encourages self-interest without a doubt. And that could lead, and it does lead, to economic divides. The wealthy gain more wealth.
I want to know your perspective on Planned Parenthood and the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret.
Mountain Vibe.
That was incredible.
White woman behavior. This man is speaking. This man is talking. Why would you start your sentence in the middle of his sentence? Why do you think that's good? Don't answer that. Why do you think that it's okay to step over someone else in their conversation? That don't make no sense to me. Carry on, please,
Look,
Jay.
the reason why she didn't rattle me too much is, man, look, tonight for dinner we had cube steak over rice with some nice gravy. We had some rolls, and we had like the great tomatoes were put in the oven so they deflated just a little bit to add a little bit more taste, and a nice sweet red wine. It was wonderful.
Fetal cells.
It was nice. I can't tell you how nice it was. But to continue though, the wealthy in capitalism, we all know this. We got a long history of it. They continue to gain more wealth, and with that wealth, they gain more power. While workers, us, we face the insecurity and limited resources from the peanuts that they pay us. Really, I think this system, it also undermines community bonds. It reduces life to transactions, I'm sorry, rather than, cooperative relationships. By valuing growth over sustainability, really, I think capitalism, it harms the environment. It creates long-term consequences for everyone, and especially the ones who can't afford that. Capitalism harms us all.
100%. It harms
Have you
everyone.
looked up the capitalistic benefit of abortions and the history of who created
Well,
it?
Mountain, I would say this, and I'm going on mute because I thought you heard me in the beginning. I have no comments on it. I'm pro-life. I can't get pregnant. I can't. I mean pro-choice. My apologies. I'm pro-choice. I can't get pregnant, and I'm certainly not about to tell a woman what she can and can't do with her own body. It's just that's not going to happen. That is the end of my comments on that.
Are you forced to birth, Mountain?
Sorry?
Are you forced to birth?
Forced birth. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I don't call it pro-life because it's not pro-life. It's actually anti-life, and it's just forced birth. So are you forced birth?
Can you elaborate on forced birth?
I think I just did. It's not
Can you
called.
elaborate
Kristen,
specifically on that?
I'm
please?
literally about to. I'll rephrase it for you because apparently I wasn't clear enough the first time.
Not at all.
Pro-life, it's not called, I do not call it pro-life because anybody who is quote unquote pro-life doesn't care about the actual life of the fetus once it's born and it's a baby. They don't care because then they vote against social programs. They don't adopt. They don't help kids in the foster care system. They
That's
don't
a
do
whole
it.
different
Excuse
issue.
me, I wasn't done speaking, Mountain. You will not speak over
Keep
me.
talking, babe. You're
So,
fine.
so don't call me babe. So that is not that's not pro-life. That's actually anti-life. Really, it's just people wanting to control.
That's not pro-life. That's actually
Oh
anti-life.
my god, the
Really,
echo is
it's just people.
There we go.
it's literally just people wanting to control, and mainly men control women's bodies and what they do. It's forced birth. So are you forced birth?
I will say this to add to that. The only reason, one of the biggest, because I can't say the only reason, you got to mute again, Mountain. I don't know what's going on with your echo. I don't know why that keep happening to you. I love what Not Ken just said, because once these babies are forced to be here, the people who force them to be here don't give a fuck. Do y'all know how much early child care is? It is
Yeah.
it
Yeah, you
is
guys, yeah, you,
crippling.
it is. You guys
And
force,
here's
you
the
guys,
thing. America can pay for early child care if they want to.
Here's the thing.
If you
stay
come
muted.
on,
You have
Mountain,
an
give me a
echo,
second.
Mountain.
I don't know why she don't know that. Mountain, what you might have to do when you mute is go, okay, well,
Oh
that
my
works too.
god.
America can pay for early child care if they want. If you don't believe me, the Laham Act in 1941, they paid for early childhood care because at the time, Even though the same women, they looked down on the disenfranchised. When World War II was happening, they built propaganda to put those women in the very factories to keep this country going and add to the war efforts. I think it ended somewhere close to 1950, something like that. I don't know the exact year, but they did pay for it at some time, and they can do it again if they want to. It wouldn't be hard. The last thing that they had to attempt to help low income families was around the 1960s. And we see over time that just continued to balloon because of capitalism, where now there are families who have to decide if both of them are going to work or if one is going to work. Because believe it or not, even with two incomes coming in, when you have to pay early childhood, it would not feel like it. So, no, if you are pro-life, tell me the bills that you are proposing to help the people, to help families, to help parents, to help these kids. Otherwise, stay out of people's bodies.
Literally, because then they just shame single mothers and the fathers just walk out and then they claim that they are being taken for child support and they never wanted the kid and it's just a mess. It's just a mess. Like literally just stay out of other people's healthcare, period. Okay? Period.
Yeah, 100%. She has some problematic behavior all the way around. I don't even know why I brought her back up, other than just because sometimes when the emotional labor it's uncomfortable after a while for people to be problematic about racism. It's crazy. Why? That's not the point. The point is Matt's probably the op. What's up, Matt?
Oh yeah, hey, how's everybody doing?
How's your hairline doing today?
Oh, better with the new picture.
I was better before I saw you were up here, but that's okay.
I think Ken sees the hairline, this picture, and she's probably saying it's better anyway.
No, I made it clear. The picture is not better because you're still in it. It's just another picture of you, and you kind of have the light blocking you. Like this looks like a selfie that the kids in high school we used to take back in like 2006. That's what it looks like. You know, like the both hands in front of you. You know, you kind of got a little angle going on there. You know what I'm talking about? It's giving early 2000s.
Hey, can I address a comment she made earlier? So a while back, she said that it's easy for guys to just get a vasectomy, right?
Yeah,
And
it is.
It is.
okay, but what we need to realize is this is just an elective surgery that the man
Wait.
needs to decide.
Wait, no.
I don't want to have pressure from
Okay.
women.
I'm so glad that you agree, Matt. I'm so glad
This
that
is our
you
decision.
agree. No, I'm so glad that
Our
you
decision.
agree. I'm so glad
I'm sorry,
that you
it's my
agree.
decision, and I'm not
I'm
putting my
so
manhood
glad
on
that
the
you
chopping block for
agree.
you or
I'm
any other
so
woman.
glad that you agree that it's your decision, Matt, just the way that it is the woman's decision to choose. I'm so glad we're on the same page. W, Matt.
Yeah, Matt, are you pro-choice all 9 months, Matt?
No, I think that's extreme. In my
Okay,
opinion.
wait, you think that women shouldn't get the choice to choose an abortion all 9 months? Yes or no?
I just unless there's some no,
What's the
not unless
definition?
there's a
He doesn't. Most of these pro-lifers don't
this
even
should
know
be
what
a
abortion
here,
means. What does abortion mean? What's the definition of abortion, Matt?
it's terminating of a pregnancy.
Correct. So if you are, it's a deliberate termination of pregnancy, right? So they actually classify it in under medical code, C-sections and any labors that they use. They induce labor. They use those. Those are classified as medical abortions.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I don't care about the late term abortions. I'm talking about the early ones where you don't
Well,
have.
you just said that you think that's extreme to have an abortion at 9 months. And if it's just the deliberate termination of pregnancy, if I'm 8.5 months pregnant and I'm really uncomfortable and the baby is sustainable outside of the womb and I'm ready to go, I should be able to opt into that. That's all it means. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's an exception. But when we talk
No, it's
about
not an exception, which should be up to the women. It should be up to the women and the doctors. I don't know why you're special pleading for one. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, no, I'm gonna go back to this one and let's go back to the early term ones. And like, I don't get what you're trying to accomplish here. What's your stance?
I mean, are you telling us that abortions are healthcare?
Yes,
Abortions are healthcare. Have you not seen?
100%.
Hold
What?
on, Jay. Have you not
Is
seen
that
the
what you're
stories?
saying?
Have you not seen the
wait,
stories
wait,
in the
wait, wait.
world?
I want to wait. See, Ken, here's the thing. I'm gonna use the man. I'm gonna use the man logic on this because we're gonna clip this. We got to. Matt,
Yeah.
is a vasectomy. Is vasectomy healthcare?
No, it's just like if I got LASIK surgery, it's elective. It's just
Okay.
something.
Is abortion
What?
elective?
It, you know, it's
Is
not
it
really
healthcare?
okay unless there's a medical need to keep the mother alive. I don't know why we're doing it.
Is
Matt,
it
but
elective?
you're missing
Like,
Matt, but you're missing real fast. I have to tell him. Matt, you're missing the point that in certain states they have done a complete abortion ban. And even the women, there have been women that have unalived in mass numbers due to the not getting the health care, and they've bled out in the parking lot of hospitals because they were denied an abortion that could have saved their lives. You can't special plead in these cases. When they do a ban, they do a complete ban. There isn't like, okay, well, if this scenario happens and this scenario happens, it's highly unlikely to happen when it comes to legislative. You're either going to put a complete ban on it, which certain politicians have said if they were elected, that's what they're going to do, a federal ban, no exceptions. So that 9-year-old or that 10-year-old that got raped also has to carry as well, Matt, and become a parent under your guys' worldview. Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Texas doesn't have that exception, even if the lady or girl,
My
God, that's so bad.
link tree has all the stats in there for the states and what their exceptions are at what week.
Oh, that's horrible.
Exceptions. Yeah.
Man, that's horrible.
so Mountain, whoever, you're in the request again, and I'm not going to accept you this time. And the reason why, basically, is because you are still kind of trying to pick and choose when to have a conversation and when you choose to grant your white woman respect to people and not interrupt people and such like that. So, like, we've centered your problematic behavior for long enough on this panel. You're welcome to come back another time and we can have another discussion. But I'm hoping that you brought some clarity and at least some things to think about and how you can deconstruct your white supremacy nature with this conversation, and let's go from there. So if you want to leave, cool. If you don't want to leave and you want to stay around and listen, that'd be great.
So, Jeff, I want to do this, and I'm going to go on mute. There was live I was in sometime last year where we were talking about vasectomies, and what I've realized is there are a lot of men who don't know what it is or pretty much anything around it. So right there, right then and there, we all, looked up some of the things about it. And since the conversations has been coming up again recently, I figured I would make a bit of a commercial. So let's see. So you're thinking about a vasectomy, are you? Well, let's talk about some of the side effects. Common side effects of vasectomy include mild pain, bruising, or swelling around the scrotum, which usually improves within a few days. Some men experience ongoing tenderness, known as post-vasectomy pain syndrome, but this is rare. Potential complications, though uncommon, include infection, blood clots, or inflammation in the tubes carrying sperm. Vasectomies don't impact testosterone or, I just say actual function. And they are considered very safe, effective, and not permanent. So, get your vasectomy today if you don't want to add to the population. If not, stay out of women's business.
Yep, 100%.
All right,
Matt,
listen.
are you
Can I
done
say
having
it?
children? How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 54. I do have 2 kids. I'm done at this point.
Why ain't
But
you got a
listen,
vasectomy?
well, okay. Listen,
Jay just gave you the rundown.
Okay, listen, I like his drug commercial voice, but I'm not going to be shooting blanks and all. I don't know what this, I have no idea what it happens when you do it. And I don't want to risk them cutting the wrong tube. Let's put it that way. There is medical malpractice, right?
Okay, so I can put you out to dry on that too. So you're scared that someone's going to do an operation on you and it's not going to go correctly?
Well, there are malpractices, right? I mean,
Cool. So vasectomy risk. Do you know how many?
Is there a risk?
Yeah. I mean, it was a little. It was a little. What he said to Jay. You like Jay's voice? That's a little. That's all right though. That's all right.
Just know that I am now, because of my wife, offering certain services with my voice. If you would like to know what they are, please inbox me and we can go over the pricing list.
Now then.
Okay, but let me ask you guys. Let's say your wife pulls you aside and she says, "Hey, I'm not at menopause yet, age-wise. So you need to get the vasectomy." Are you going to just say yes, or are you going to think about it? Is what
I don't even have a wife, and I got a vasectomy. What the fuck are you talking about? I ain't even got a wife. When I went to get a vasectomy, the doctor asked me, he said, "What's your significant other think?" And I said, "He's all right with it."
I'm sorry, but men are such snowflakes. Like, I'm serious. You guys,
Oh, I didn't
you
realize
guys are
that.
crying over a little tenderness and redness when women have literal humans come out of their vaginas or cut out of their stomachs, and then they're expected to take care of that tiny little helpless human for the rest of their lives, and especially when recovery takes 6 to 8 weeks just to even have like the incision site be like not swollen. And you guys you guys are fucking snowflakes. Seriously? Come on. I'm tired of hearing men cry about, "Oh, this is gonna hurt, or I'm scared I'm gonna shoot blanks." Well, you know what? I'm scared that I might not make it off of the table. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Now, Ken, that was part of the reason why why I wrote that up like so many months ago, because it was, and I was hoping men would catch it, that the shit that you are fearing about an outpatient surgery is.
I don't know a woman who had a baby in 30 minutes and then went back to work.
The stuff that you are fearing, can you imagine? Because look, I've been in that room when my wife had our kids. Hey, look, man, childbirth is magic. I don't care what nobody say. I don't even know how that even works. Like I don't know the way bodies just know what to do while the baby is still baking is I don't know, bro. I say this though. The reason why I wrote those things that I wrote in that comical commercial is to tell me, bro, this shit is like, again, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And the one thing that most men fear for whatever reason is, oh, well, I'm not going to be a man anymore. What?
So also.
Hi, host. I'm 46.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, I just want to look. Here's some numbers right quick though. A vasectomy complication is 1% to 2% of the population that can have any type of complication. A pregnancy is 8%. So just there, we're talking about a great number, and you think that women shouldn't have access to abortions; they should have that entire pregnancy.
Right, and let's not talk about the number of medical racism, right? Like the misogyny, especially against women of color in the healthcare industry, especially when we were talking about specifically Black women. They are denied pain medication more than like a white woman. They are told that they're not in as much pain, and they don't get as much help, and their mortality rates are higher than white women's as well. So I just find it so funny. Actually, I don't find it funny at all. I find it gross and imploring that men think that they should have a say on this. The only men that should have a say on it are men that saying that they should stay out of it. That's it. That's all. If you think that you have a say in it, then you shouldn't have a say in it. Just period. And this goes for women too. The fact that women think that they should make decisions for other women, gross. You're just pick-me's. It's fine.
Quickly, to show you how much me and not Ken are on the same level on this, and I'm so sorry, Jeff, I'm going right back on you, is I want you to think that there was a senator who had to make a bill called the Maternal Care Act. And the reason why is because there were so many women, specifically black women, not making it out of the hospital after they delivered their babies. If anybody is interested in who that senator is, I won't even give you the name. I just let you look it up. The Maternal Care Act.
There you go. There you go. Oh, look, all right. So let's move the conversation around a little bit. We got some new people on the panel. I don't know if nighttime. Do you disagree with any of this background?
Well, I'm pro-choice all 9 months, extremely so.
Okay.
Capitalism, I mean, there's different forms of it. I think that there could be a good one, maybe.
Okay.
It's a question mark.
All right. Well, if you're not well versed on it, then we ain't got to talk about it, though. Did you come up here to say something specific, though? Like that's what I'm.
Well, I mean, you guys have, the topics and the conversation changes all the time. So,
Okay.
like with me, I've been on panels for like over a year and a half on different pro-lifers, and their mindset is it's a quandary. Like, I don't get how they can think it's okay for them to dictate other people's health care. And so I've had this conversation with them, and one of it is like, well, pregnancy is a natural occurrence. It's a natural process. I'm like, well, so is cancer. So what if I propose that
We're all in agreement there. We're all in agreement, and but if you're arguing a pro-choice stance all 9 months, then there's nothing to. We have to have a conversation before we can argue a conversation, right? I mean,
well, what about state rights?
Well, state. There's nobody arguing against state rights at this time, so we can't bring up any conversation with it. That's what I'm saying. So Pauldo, do you disagree with some of this background? Pauldo, are you home? Pauldo. Uh-oh. All right. I'll use this time right here to say that I appreciate everyone being here. I haven't seen any lights go up. I see y'all like tapping the screen. That's cool. That's cool. I mean, I'm keeping y'all a little space over here, a little entertained, but ain't got to tap screen. That's all right. It's okay. There's been a lot of people
there's
subscribe.
nuances to these topics, and there's nuances to a variety of these topics. I've been on panels. I'm a host myself. Like, you don't always have to have, the most vice different person up on here to keep the conversation flowing going.
Yeah.
I know it can get stagnant, but it's just,
Okay. All right. Yeah.
it doesn't always have to be a hot.
I'm shady with the likes, 100%. Y'all been gifting though. I appreciate the gifting going on. I do. There's like at least 12 new subscribers. I do want to say that
That's awesome.
yeah, I appreciate the subscribers. Now I'm making content on health and fitness for subs only. So if you're in here and you want to have that discussion, I know I'm going to release a sub only video tomorrow discussing some of the nuances about your protein intake. I think that everyone needs to have at least 100 grams of protein a day. That's what I think. Also, that's what all the scientific research shows. And I'm going to break down some of the ways that you can get that amount of nutrition in on a day. That's what we got to do on he's not making content. Y'all listen to Shawnee in the comments. She just bullshit. Y'all know, anybody that's been here long enough knows Shawnee just gonna stay on my head about everything.
Women can't bully men. Stop it.
Yeah, she be on that neck now. She be on that neck. She be on that. I don't be paying no attention to her, but she be on that neck now. I'm surprised. I made this background and she made like 5 or 6 backgrounds a day. I appreciate it. Shout out to Shawnee. And I'm not running one of those. And I'm surprised she ain't say nothing about that yet. I'm surprised.
I like her backgrounds better. Just saying. I noticed Shawnee. I was like, Jeff must have made this one.
Of them.
I'm like Jeff. Jeff must have made this one.
I want to say this, though, Jeff. Can you imagine that if husband and wife went into a hospital, a doctor's office, whatever, and the husband wanted to get a vasectomy, and the doctor stopped and looked at his wife and said, "Hey, do I have your permission to do this? Would you mind if I do this for your husband, to your husband?" I would imagine that scene like hours later with like a negotiator outside from just how mad that man would have gotten. The reason why I give that example is because today, I think it's legally doctors should not do that. But let us not forget, there was a time in this country where the husband's permission was required even before the wife decided she wanted to get her tubes tied. Actually, in some places, if I'm not mistaken, if you have no kids, they were even more like, "Oh no, baby, what is she doing? No, you can't do that. What? How dare you?" And on some of them, I will go far enough to say some of them may be concerned and say, "Hey, do you even think at all, imagine at all that you would like to have kids someday?" And, you know, if that's on your mind, give it a day, come back. I'd be more than happy to do it. Others, however, I believe it's like, "Oh, no, you're not doing this. This is your purpose on earth. This is your purpose to life. I can't do that for you without his permission." Hey,
And,
look, man.
and to speak on that though, there's a Google Doc
Crazy.
that Shawnee provided it again. So we shouting out to Shawnee in the comments. Shawnee be running this. I have dropped the ball as a man usually does, and I have not added it to my link tree yet. But there's a Google Doc that we have that has a list of all doctors that will perform any type of reproductive surgeries that you would require without any background or data, no questions asked. And we need more and more of that with inside the United States, because there's no reason why a doctor should be asking you why you want to get an elective procedure done if
That's crazy.
it's safe in itself. It's the same way a woman can go to the doctor at 21 and have a breast augmentation, but she can't get her tubes tied. Tell me that
Come on, man.
I just
Tell-
want to know. I just want to know where Jeff would be without Shawnee. I mean, that's all I want to know.
But you know what?
Just like me, I don't even know what to say
the
about
Discord.
I also, Jeff, I also seen in the comments though, the very reason why I chose not to speak on women getting abortions is because there are multiple women who are saying, "Hey, that is still the practice today." I thought it was something that was so frowned upon that if a doctor dared ask you that, that hospital would be sued, or that doctor's office would be sued. But to see, and I'm pretty sure I can drop into most lives that have women in it now who would tell me, "Oh yeah, they still do that. What do you mean used to?"
Yeah, they do.
That's
They do.
crazy.
They do 100%. But us as men, we're not regulated at all. We can go get clipped 18, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? And let's circle back around to Matt up there. Matt, do you still agree with your take on this? You are you don't think that abortion should be available?
Well, okay, here's what I'm saying. I just have empathy for the unborn. That's all I'm saying. And I feel like we should really vet the women that are trying to get an abortion within the first 2 trimesters, right? Now, that last part of the abortion, or the last part of the birth, pregnancy, yeah, do the C-section, whatever it is.
No one's unaliving babies after 24
I'm
weeks.
just questioning, do they have a real reason for doing it after 8
What does it
weeks?
matter to you, Matt? What does it involve your life at all?
Well, let's put it this way. If you're in my life, we're going to have a full-blown discussion about why I'm
Absolute
doing
the
it.
fuck not.
If it's my kid.
Absolute the fuck not.
Now, if it's my kid, we are talking about it.
How do you know it's your kid?
No, if I know it's my kid, we are going to discuss
How
it.
do you know?
Well, I'm saying if I think it is.
Because you think it is? Okay. So, well, I think it's not your decision. So,
Now, knock
whose
on wood,
decision
the
is
one
it?
I'm with, she
No, I'm
has
just
the
trolling.
kids,
Sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
and I can afford to take care of them. right?
What
And not all these guys
here's
out there can afford,
here's the thing. Do you have
child
empathy?
care.
But Matt, do you have empathy for me?
Yeah, but we're just talking about the unborn,
Well,
right?
no. Why do you have empathy for me?
Oh, because you're we're your okay. You're another man. I mean, we're in society together. You're. I don't know. I mean, you just because you're trying to do good in the world, right? You're not a
Because
bad person.
we're humans,
We're humans. Yeah.
and
Yes.
and you don't know me from Adam's house cat, right? But you wouldn't want any harm to happen to me, right?
That's right.
And I wouldn't want any harm to happen to you, even. I'm not gonna make that anyway. Why wouldn't you extend that same grace to someone who is pregnant and want the best for them?
Because here's why. Can I just tell you guys to be totally honest? Because I feel like you and I are enjoying this thing we call life, these experiences we have, and I feel like the unborn should have the same chance. Otherwise,
They're not born, brother. They're
no,
not born.
but why
Okay,
can't we give them the same chance?
So let's move around by that. Do you
Yeah.
have empathy because my nuts are cut and I can't have babies?
No, because you and your significant other can find another way to have. You could go to a sperm
But
center.
why don't you have empathy for those unborn sperms that they'll never find an egg?
Oh, well, that's just, I mean, now you're talking about sperm. That's a different situation.
You see
It's
how
not
your
a
argument
micro.
falls apart because you're granting moral obligation to something that's not here yet. That's your problem. Like you're talking about the unborn like it's a living, breathing person like me and you, but it's not. And what you're doing on top of that is you're granting more rights, access, and freedom to that unborn something compared to that living person that's here now. And that's what you as a man, you have to, don't get me wrong, society pushes you to be there. So I'm extending empathy and grace to you and saying, I understand where you're coming from in society, but I'm trying to grant you the permission in society to decouple yourself from that misogynistic viewpoint and say, if this was me and myself, I would want to have access the same way that you have access not to have a vasectomy, and I have access to vasectomy, and you don't hold it against me for that. That's the same empathy that I want you to extend to people that can get pregnant and say, I want you to do what's best for you and your future, whether it's with a child or without a child, whether it's with a family or child free forever. And whether it's complications that you have to have an abortion because of complications, whether it's because of financial, it does not matter. Any scenario that you're in, I want you to be able to make your decision that's best for you and your future. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can extend that one step further, because here's where I'm going to disagree the smallest, tiniest fucking amount with Ken. If you and your significant other are pregnant, I would want y'all to make the best decision for y'all. Okay? And now let's center you in that conversation. What if you and someone else are pregnant and she's 17 weeks pregnant and her blood pressure starts to drop and there's something going on with the pregnancy and the doctor says, I don't think that she's going to have a viable pregnancy and she's unconscious and the decision is on you, Matt. What are you going to do, Matt? Are you going to tell the doctor to have an abortion? Or are you going to tell the doctor, let's just hope for the best?
Well, you probably have to rely on the judgment of the doctor. And is that a stillborn situation, by the way? I don't know what that would be
I
called.
don't know what the
Wait.
situation is, but I'm glad that you said that because you don't fucking know and I don't fucking know. So I'm going to rely on the doctor to make the best decision. And your stance on abortion is not granting the doctor access to that because in all of these states where abortion is being more and more outlawed, the law is reading as the doctor cannot make the decision. So women are unaliving in that nature. And that's your problem. That's your problematic behavior. That's your misogyny. And you've got to work through that yourself. You see what I'm saying? Like you've got to get there.
Oh, so the doctor would not rely on what the man says?
No, the doctor would, and the doctor had his hands tied or their hands tied because the
Right.
doctor's a woman. By all means, I don't want to pronoun a doctor that's hypothetical. the doctor's hands are tied, and there's women that are unaliving on a daily basis because of these problematic laws when Roe v. Wade was overturned. And you don't get that.
Sorry about that. Matt, it seems it seems like you are leaning more pro-life than pro-choice. So, what do you think about early childhood care in this country?
Oh, well, I mean, are you saying there's not enough funding for it?
Oh well, you're actually going down a pretty good path with me. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it is a struggle there. Some of the
Do you,
women
do you
maintain
think it
what
should be universally paid so that it's free?
that would be nice. That'd be a nice option.
The reason why I ask is because according to Child Care Aware of America, in 2023, the national average cost of full-time center-based care for infants was around $16,000 annually. And for some states, it got as high as $20,000. Even two-parent households are like, yo, I don't know, one of us gonna have to stay home for these early years. Aside from that, the life expectancy, let's take a state like the one that I'm in Alabama. Life expectancy in Alabama is around 72 years, and it's been dropping actually for the last 10 years. In fact, Alabama hovers around the bottom of the country in what we rank in life expectancy. What about that seems joyous? That, we want to bring somebody in if the person who would be bringing the baby in would say, you know what, I don't want to do that.
Yep.
Just to, I want to let people know, Alabama ain't alone on that. We talking Alabama, Mississippi, West Virginia, South Carolina, mostly, honestly, southern states, if we're being honest. Yeah, the high rates of chronic diseases, socioeconomic disparities, healthcare challenges, the low pay. There are a bunch of things that gets us heart disease, cancer, other prevalent conditions that affect us almost disproportionately when you connect the contrast to the rest of the country, especially blue states.
Okay, listen, you and I know that there's struggles in this life, but we also brought kids in this world,
Hmm.
right? So,
But what if I were to tell you this? I didn't ask to be here. I've experienced some great things. I've seen some wonderful things, but that really means nothing because I didn't ask to be here. If I was never here, none of it it wouldn't matter. I get it. A lot of us would like to believe that we're this great altruistic person because we want babies to experience that dance that we went to in 1994. Like, I get it. But if the person who is bringing this baby into this life decides that I don't want to do that, I don't want to overtake that person's decisions for their own bodies.
Mm-hmm. Now, once you have said child, you need to do the things to accommodate that child's life accordingly, and you need to push for social changes if there's despairing things and such as that. And that's kind of what the whole premise of this situation is like, there's some people that didn't ask to be pregnant that are now pregnant that need an abortion. There are some people that didn't know about things, and I know that some people look at you as a 50-something-year-old fella, but like we've already alluded that like there's some shit that you don't know. There's plenty of shit that we don't know as people, right? And so we need to advocate for better SMEX education in school, and that's so children know, because I can't teach SMEX education on a level that children need to know. you can't either. You know.
Yeah, I have a
Oh,
question
Jeff,
for
thank you
Matt.
so much for that. Really quickly, thank you so much for that, because there was a study done not long ago that talked about schools that teach abstinence only and schools that teach proper SMETS education. Not only was teenage pregnancy down, but the amount of teenagers who are passing on these actually transmitted diseases, that was down as well in comparison to the abstinence only teaching. But one last thing, did we forget that there was a Similac shortage earlier this year and last year? I look, man, if America gave more of a fuck about babies, wonderful, but we know they don't.
Yeah, I have a question. Hey Matt. There was a story that I read recently about a mother who gave her 2 children to the system because she couldn't take care of them anymore for whatever reason. What do you think about that?
Well, look, there are.
No, I'm asking you okay, so I can already tell that you're gonna blow there's our situations where no. Tell me what your opinion is on that situation and what that mother did. She said, I don't want these kids anymore. I can't take care of them. They're driving me crazy. What I'm gonna put them in the system, and she put them in the system.
Okay, here's what I would say about. We don't even know who she is, but I'll just say this: if you are not equipped and you're not prepared, and you're not equipped, and I'm talking about mentally as well as finding ways to support those kids.
I think I know where it's going.
Now, let me just say this: you're not financially disciplined. You're not disciplined with your.
Shut up, Matt. Just answer the question. I don't need what you think a qualified parent needs.
Okay, I would say she's not even mature enough to have. I don't even know what age this kid is, but she's probably not equipped, and she realized it, and then she decided to give those kids over. And I don't even know the situation. I would just say that that's probably what it was.
So my problem with your answer, Matt, is that you fucking just judged that parent for giving her kids up when you are up here advocating that women are forced to carry birth. But then when they do and they don't want the children, then they're fucking judged by society. When they're single moms, then they're judged by society. Then they need to be on social programs, they're judged by society. But they didn't want to be parents in the first place. They wanted an abortion, but they weren't allowed access to one. For whatever case, financial, location, safety reasons, medically, whatever. But what you just did totally crippled your whole entire stance because you are a hypocrite.
No,
you are advocating. No, I'm going to say this. You are a hypocrite.
No.
You advocating against women to not have a choice in their medical care, right? But then when they do have the baby and then they go and they give it up because they can't take care of it, and I would think that that's better than them unaliving the child. Then you go and you're like, well, she wasn't even equipped in the first place, shouldn't even have been a parent. Well, maybe that's what she wanted, right, Matt? Yes. But people are voting to get that right taken away from her, and tons of other women just like her. If you fucking have an issue with women giving their children up after or rehoming or replacing them after they are born, well then go do something about the children that are in the system and stop worrying about adding more. You're a fucking hypocrite.
Yeah, and by the way, none of us are going to know the real reason, because when you go to these clinics or these adoption center, I don't even know on the documentation of the application, you have to actually write the reasons, right? So who knows what this motivation was at that point?
Wait. Are you just pulling that out of the air, or have you been to an adoption center before?
No, and these ladies going to abortion clinics, they probably don't even have to fill out paperwork.
You're using words like probably and might be. So you're just pulling stuff out the air, right? Do you understand how harmful that is? Why are you doing that?
No, wait a minute. When I go to a dental appointment, I have to write a lot of my medical history, right? With these people going
Sir,
through so many,
Matt, I don't care if you told them how long your big toe was. You are talking about something that affects strangers' health, and you're using words like probably and might be. Do you understand, just on a basic philosophical level, how dangerous this is, what you're doing right now?
no, but when you gather these
Oh
stats
my
about
God.
why they're dying of abortions, there's
I
no
can't. It
documentation.
doesn't matter.
I don't
How
know
do
the
you know
motivation.
that? There is. They have to legally, federally. What are you talking about? They have to fill out an intake form and sign consent forms. You dumb.
Yeah, but they don't list out all their reasons for doing whatever it
They
is.
don't
Why?
have to because it's
This,
no
this
one's.
is
Hold
maddening.
on, because it's no one's business. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead. Go ahead, Jeff.
that's what I want to ask Matt. What reasonings would you like to qualify to grant an abortion to a woman?
I think it should be based on her medical need. Not, when I get a scalpel to me, it's because I had tonsillitis. They took my tonsils out. The penicillin wasn't working 3 different times. Go ahead, use the scalpel, right?
I
But
can't.
when she's there,
I've already told you.
she's
I've already
had
told
20
you,
mood
Matt.
swings, and we
You
still don't
can't
know.
make.
No reason why
Hold on,
she's
Jay.
there.
Matt,
Hold on, Jay. I
We still
can't. You
don't know.
can't
She
make.
doesn't even know why she's there.
Wait,
You can't even make. You can't make medical exceptions.
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I don't know why you're still going down this road, because then you're saying that the 11 or 12-year-old that got impregnated by Uncle Randy, right, should have to carry.
Well, I
Because
guess that
medically, she doesn't need one. She could carry.
you could probably have legal and medical.
Let me.
Matt, I was about to tell
Okay,
you to be
can
quiet
I?
because Jean Grey keeps coming off mute. She absolutely wants to get in the conversation.
This was my point.
Oh, go ahead,
You
Jay.
actually walked me right to my point. The problem with that, with exceptions, right, especially legal exceptions, is that makes the victim have the burden of proof. And when you have to prove something of that nature, then you have a party who can decide whether you've proved it well enough or not. So, oh well, do you have it on video? Do you have him admitting that he did it? That's horrible. An 11-year-old girl, a 12-year-old girl, a grown woman shouldn't have to do that, but we already legally have to do that.
Well,
Okay, can I say this? This woman, whether she moves ahead with the pregnancy or decides to abort it, she's going to have to live with the trauma of that decision the rest of her life. So
That's her
that's on her.
choice. That's the point. That's her choice.
Yeah, well, then she's going to have to.
And also, it's telling that you use those words because I feel like you want to believe that she's going to live with some type of trauma. Why do you believe that it's just that cut and dry?
yeah. Well,
You need to believe that there's some type of punishment for not making the decision that you thought was best for a stranger.
But you
And
don't
What?
think she's going to have
This is
regret?
weird.
No, wait, you don't think she's going to regret it or not regret it? There's going to be some emotion there.
But here's the thing.
it
I'm
doesn't
not saying that
matter.
I'm not saying that she will or won't. You just said conclusively that she will. Do you have,
well,
I'll go on mute.
we got to take this topic a few steps back, okay? And that's y'all know how I'll be doing. You're trying to argue the semantics of a decision that you don't want to grant to someone, although you get to make your own decisions.
Exactly.
Just as we've had the vasectomy conversation now, you don't want to pass on that to someone else, which means you're misogynistic. Now, and to prove that point once again, I'm going to ask you about breast augmentations. Do you know what that is?
I guess just changing the size of her breast, I guess. Is that what it is?
Breast implants. Do you like that? Is that something that you like?
Okay.
Are you're okay with?
Personally, I don't think anyone should go under the knife unless there's a medical need. So I don't like it. But if I can't, she can do it if that's what she wants. But it's not what I don't agree to it. I don't think it's a good thing.
What
Do
do you
look
have any
at,
tattoos, sir?
No, I have no tattoos. Nothing. But that's
Okay.
my choice.
Yeah. Oh, your
But
choice.
didn't you get your kids circumcised?
Well, my wife, I don't even have.
Yeah, you did. We had this debate. We did. You
I
did.
think my
Yeah,
wife
you
decided
tried to
that.
claim
I
that
didn't
your
even
wife
cut.
didn't tell you about it. So
I didn't
I would
even cut the
argue that
umbilical
you
cord.
do medical procedures without them necessary. So you do. Yeah, you do.
I didn't
You're
even
a
cut the
hypocrite.
umbilical cord. I'm kind of grossed out on the hospital, so I was kind of there, but not there. I don't like the smell. I don't like the sight of blood. Nothing.
You,
I can't do it really.
so
So
your
I mean, I
wife
love it.
went through a childbirth twice, huh?
Yeah, I
Twice,
was
right?
there, but I don't cut umbilical cords, so I didn't. Yeah,
And
you
you
guys can
and
do
you
it.
didn't like and you don't like the smell of the hospital, so you said, "All right, baby, I dip. I'll see you later. Bring the kid back."
Okay, but am I
You
a
and
bad
your
father
man
because I didn't cut?
privilege.
No, I didn't cut the cord, and I'm a bad
No,
father,
you ain't
even
gotta
though I
cut the
paid the
umbilical
bills all
cord,
these
but you
years,
literally
right?
said you didn't like the smell of the hospital, so you left. What if she didn't like the smell of the hospital, or the hormones that affected her body, or the stretch marks, or the emotional labor of raising a child, or the pregnancy itself and morning sickness and not being able to eat correctly, not being able to be comfortable while you're pregnant, all these types of things that go into a pregnancy. I can't even name them all because I'm not pregnant and never been pregnant. And that being the case, like, and you were just like, you know what, babe, I know you did all this work, but this hospital smells funny, and I'm gonna go home and get in my lazy boy.
Well,
I gave you the scene. I'm good. You got what you needed. I'm gonna go be in the lazy boy. When you get back, could you fix me a little something to eat? Because my belly's gonna be hungry.
She is stronger than me in a lot of ways, for sure. But yeah, I was there.
My belly's gonna be hungry.
Right,
And
was allowed to be there.
if you could bring me a little suave for my hair, please, because the doctor said if I put more in, it might stay longer.
But Jay, tell us about your hospital experience.
Are you a doctor?
Stop. He left his hairline at the hospital.
Hey, you know what? Did you see Elon Musk got all that hair implanted? You could go if you went to if you like going to the hospital, you could go get some of that shit done.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll do that instead of the vasectomy. Is everybody happy here?
Oh, now you're going under the knife. Are you a doctor?
No, I can't. I don't.
Yeah, that's
Matt,
elective.
No,
are you a doctor?
me no.
So why would it matter what it smells like if you get squeamish? Like, what does that have anything to do with someone else getting a procedure?
It's just that I don't like the sight of blood either. That's just me. That's me.
Again,
You
would
guys
you
can
be there?
do what you
Would
want.
you would you be there?
Beware.
You guys do what you want.
When she's having a kid?
Beware.
Yeah,
hate-
man,
I
I was
ha-
there as long
I
as they
hate
allowed
when
me to be
men
there.
try to have this.
I was there as
I
long as
hate when
they
men
had
try to
me.
have this morality standpoint when it comes to
At some point, they
abortion.
tell you to
It's
leave,
like, let's
right?
not pretend. Let's not pretend that they wouldn't quadruple, quintuple, whatever larger number if they were the ones that carry children. Like, let's be fucking for real. So, like, let's not even do the morality standpoint because we know good and well that would go out the window if you guys had to have children. Why are you even talking?
So look, I want to take this opportunity just to continue being the number one fan of my wife and say our oldest isn't mine biologically. So when I came into my wife's life, our oldest, she was 2 at the time, but I seen her give birth to our first, my son. I was there the entire time, all of those hours that afterwards really felt like it really wasn't that long. Seeing this woman deliver this baby purposely with no pain medication, to this day, I look at that woman like she's a damn superhero. Because after that one, she delivered the next 3 with no pain medication. And it made me appreciate it on both sides. One, we both wanted to do this, and she wanted to continue. She wanted to She wanted to bring our kids into this world. But two, seeing somebody go through that process, 4 to 9 months, having to carry around another person inside of them, growing inside of them for 9 months, to get on that hospital bed with no pain medication and push a literal human out of their bodies. That I seen those machines that they put on men to simulate what that pain is. I don't want to know. I can't imagine whatever that pain is. I've knocked my knee out of place, my shoulder out of place. I literally have schizophrenia, like diagnosed with it. I've been in a car accident. I fell from like 4 stories up doing a job we was doing for like framing and remodeling. All of that combined, I'm sure, is nothing compared to childbirth. So if a woman wants to do it, wonderful. If she doesn't want to do it, wonderful. But you know who doesn't have an opinion that should sway her either way on it? Any man on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
Please stop.
100%. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, because there's also the other side of this one, that we can just say that even if there was a man that wanted the child and the woman didn't, he could just offer her compensation, just like you would a surrogate. But
I like that. I like that.
yeah, like it's labor, right? That's literally why they call it labor. Like it literally is labor. Sorry, go ahead. I know there's other
I
people on the
like
panel.
that.
Yeah. I was gonna shrink the panel a little bit. I brought Neversin up, but Tim, do you want to say anything before you step out?
Yeah, actually, the only thing I want to say is I appreciate letting me speak and letting me read that thing. And I look forward to subscribing as soon as I get my new card in a few days.
Hey,
So
I appreciate it. And you've got that written down on a piece of paper, right?
Yes, sir.
I would like to I think read that out as content, as a video, because I think that it's very useful, and I feel like it needs to be pushed out into the algorithm for others. Now, if you want to do it, then that's fine. But if you would like for me to read it, I would love to create content with that. That was very beautiful.
Well, that means a lot to me. Yeah, I'd love for you to do that.
Yes.
Sure, no problem at all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
The other thing I love about Tim writing that is, have a good one, brother. The other thing I love about Tim writing that is he took notes. He gave a damn enough about the conversation he was in, and he put pen to paper. I love that. As a person who's just a fan of writing, period, that was wonderful. I'm going to make a bit of space for you as well, but before I do so, I do want to make sure I address this. Saying you are a good man is toxic. Matt, would you say you're a good man?
Yes, and I can.
Matt Avery, would you say that
Yes.
you say you're a good man?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, what makes you a good man?
Here's why, and I'll tell you why. What makes it? Now, can you guys hear me?
Go ahead.
Because I have never
I can't
missed.
wait to hear this.
No, I'm gonna tell you why. I have never missed time with my kids. I've been to all the soccer games. I've always been in their lives, and I never had that growing up. But I gave
Honestly, I'll
back
be
to
so
my
for real. I
kids.
don't care. I
And
don't
my
care if you
kids.
think you're a good
Oh,
father
she
or not.
never
We're
let.
asking you
She's
what
not
makes
gonna
you a
let me
good man
finish.
in society. You showing up to your kids' soccer
Not letting
games
me finish.
doesn't constitute a good man. There's lots of
Okay.
men that show up to their kids' soccer games,
I
but then
wanted to
go home
finish, but
and unalive their wives, right? So I don't really care if you think you're a good father. We're asking you what about you in society makes you a good man to society.
and so I've been a good example as a father to my kids, and they've gone out into the world, and they are going to do good in society, and I'm proud of that. And I've been a part of that. As far as me going into the workforce,
Because you wouldn't
yeah,
be
I'm a part of the workforce. I've supported my family all these years. I didn't abandon them like a lot of fathers do, where they're selfish and they leave and they cheat and all this other shit. I've never done all that, right? So I'll pat myself on the back in that regard, at least.
Okay,
I can't listen to
so
this shit anymore. It's making me nauseous.
She
It's
doesn't
making my ass
believe.
itch.
She
Like
didn't
it's
believe a
seriously
word
my
I
ass is starting
said.
to itch, Matt.
so here's so Matt, here's a few things about that. I do something every Monday called Men's Mental Health Mondays, and on one Monday I ask men, "Who are you?" And the way you just asked that answered that question shows me continuously that a lot of us don't know who we are outside of the things that society tells us we're supposed to be as men. And we rank up these things, these bare minimum things, and then at the end give ourselves the certificate. So saying I'm a good man is problematic because it implies that goodness is a fixed trait rather than an ongoing commitment to act with integrity and respect. The statement, it might also be used to dismiss or deflect from harmful behaviors, suggesting that self-perception is more important than actual actions. Because over and over again, the thing we see on here the most is there are far more men who care about the image of man rather than the actions of them. Additionally, proclaiming yourself as good comes across as seeking validation, honestly, which is more self-serving than it is genuine and actually caring for others. True goodness is shown, good brother, is shown through actions, not self-declared labels. And also, on this same thing, because the good man is also on the other side of that, the man who says he's a nice guy. And here's the thing, when you say that, I believe you. The reason why I believe you is nice is performative. Kind is who you are. You're performing niceness to get something out of people, which is why a lot of men perform niceness with this lady believing that they're their genuine friend. When you find out that you're put into the quote unquote friend zone, which doesn't exist, then you're like, oh, my feelings are hurt. Why would your feelings be hurt if that was your friend? The reason why is because you don't view women as human beings enough to be the same friends with them the way that you view men. We have a lot of shit to fix. When somebody asks you who you are, I'm gonna give you something to work with, and I'm gonna get out of here. Describe your values. Highlight your passions, your interests, your personal strengths, your traits, your life philosophy. Not what it is that you do, not your job, not what you do even for your kids or for your wife. Who are you at your core, at the end of all of this? And the reason why so many of us don't know is because we've never sat alone with ourselves to have these conversations. With that, good brother Jeff, I'm going to go ahead and get on up out of here, man. You know it's always a pleasure. Y'all have a good one.
I appreciate you coming up, Jay. Take it easy. I know you got a working day tomorrow, man. I'm working day. But yeah, that to go off of that topic just a touch is that's that same thing that Tim was up here talking about is you're saying you're good and we're telling you that you've got problematic ideas and you're saying, no, that can't be me because I'm good. I'm a good man. So therefore you're rooting all of your goodness as your problematic behavior is accepting in your goodness. So there's no room for growth in that.
Yeah, and
That's
we're
a
not going to
problem.
give you no one's going to give you brownie points because you didn't walk out on your children. Like no one's going to give you brownie points for that. Like I don't know why men think that like that makes them a good man. That's like the bare minimum. The bare minimum.
I was trying to catch Jay before he left because he said Matt. It's fine because he might still hear it, but he was saying Matt was performing niceness, and that's why he's a nice guy. And I wanted to say that he's 100% correct. That's why he said, "Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?" Before he started to say if he was a good man. Matt, stuttering before you while you trying to explain if you good is crazy.
Yeah.
But no funny shit. I also wanted to point out, y'all. I don't know if y'all peeped it, but Matt, one of the multitudes of excuses why he thinks that women shouldn't have autonomy over their own bodies, or at least as far as abortions, is because he thinks that it might be some mental traumatic experience. But when I believe it's not Ken, y'all help me out here because my memory is a little shitty. But when she was explaining how traumatic it can be to suffer medical issues as a result of carrying children that you didn't know you wanted, or like you didn't know you were gonna have, or like just getting pregnant and not knowing you're pregnant. We know that there are other ways women get pregnant that's not up to them. You know what I'm saying? It's like when we talking about grape and things like that. So he doesn't care if it was conceived traumatically. He doesn't care if women have a traumatic experience when they turn septic because the laws don't allow them a D&C procedure. He don't care about the trauma women experience in and around pregnancy, except for how an abortion may affect them, and that was bullshit. And I just wanted to call that out.
Right. And for him to say things like that, like what you're highlighting is life is traumatic in different ways to different people, and trauma shows up in different ways to different people. And for him to try to point to one particular thing as it's the end all be all for trauma is crazy behavior. He's demonizing an action that he literally never can experience. Why would he pick that out of all things? You know what I'm saying? We can highlight child hunger. We can highlight DV cases. All of these things are traumatic to people.
DSA, child sex trafficking, like it's so many things that happen to children.
Yeah. So let's tie on to one of those. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, Serene, knocking the gift goal out. So let's tie on to one of those things and advocate for that and try to make a difference in that. Because if you look at it from a pre-position, if you're advocating for children's rights, for children not to be abused and stuff like that, there's a connection with that and lowering abortion rates, poverty rates, all this type of stuff. There's a connection there. So let's advocate for that if that's what you really want to fix here, right? It's the same thing with that, like y'all think that men not being in the home is the problem why you're ending up with adults that can't function in society, where in reality it's society itself creating the issue of this. You see what I'm saying? Men are socialized to not care about children, so therefore they're not in the home with their child. It's not because society's doing worse because men aren't there. Literally, some of the best people didn't have a father in the home. In spite of economic injustice with single women parents. But anyway.
Yeah, I think if you're worried about trauma, whenever you remove someone's choice, the thing that they're forced to do will be traumatic. Not having a choice is the trauma. It is the problem. Yeah, so you're worrying about trauma, like forcing people to do something life-altering in either direction would be traumatic.
Who over there pimping like that?
The what?
Yeah, I ain't you pimping like that. That's that good shit.
I ain't mean to.
I think it's funny that the part of the part of where a woman will receive an abortion or have a baby in the hospital is the part that Matt likes to opt out of. I think that's odd, but you want to be a part of that. Matt, explain to me why your opinion should matter in a woman's decision. Why does your opinion matter about the decision a woman makes for her body?
Well, it's just that, look, there's an unborn kid there, and
Why does no? Because you're talking about the unborn kid. I'm talking about you specifically. Why should you have any say so in the process regarding anything concerning a woman's body?
because you are disrupting a biological process, and we should end
No. I'm asking you. So already in this conversation, like in this question, you've already put the onus on two people, the child and now the mother. Why? Let me say it slower because I think you're not understanding. Why should Matt Avery's opinion matter concerning a decision a woman needs to make for her body?
You know, look, it's because okay,
So I'll be like I used to be a para for special needs children, special educational needs children, right? And so it was one of the things that I like to do with them the most was help them with sentence starters because it really helped them understand how to write out their thoughts, and it's a great way to help anybody in general, right? So I'm gonna help you with it. My opinion matters because go.
no, I'm not gonna repeat after you.
My opinion matters because
I'm
go.
repeating after you. I'm gonna talk for myself. You ready to listen, everybody?
That's your misogyny.
No.
Just because she won't. It's your misogyny because a woman told you to say something, so you're not gonna do it, or you think that somehow by you saying that, like people are gonna think that like you don't know how to form a sentence or something, that you're like special needs or something, which is just fucking weird. Honestly,
Okay.
it's one of the two.
Okay, so you're gonna label me and not give me a chance to use my own style of communication without
Here's the thing, you're already not answering. You're already starting your answer by not answering the question. So that's why I gave you the sentence starter. Because now one of the first things you said was because an unborn child or whatever. Then you started to say because the mother. Like, no, I'm asking Matt why his opinion, without blaming anybody else. This is your decision. They've already spoken to you about who you are. J.E.'s came up here and told you about what a good man is, a great man even. You got an exemplary man right here hosting this live. You have several people on the panel that have taken the time with you, right? So now it's my turn to take a little time with you. Put on your gloves, Buki, let's go. Why does your opinion matter regarding a woman's decision over her own body? Why does your opinion matter? You don't have to explain.
Why does it
anything
not
about-
matter?
So you've done
And
that.
And I feel like everyone in her life should have a say in what's happening, and then ultimately let her make her mind up.
So what does it have to do with your opinion? This is what I'm saying. Like, and Ken is right. This is your misogyny showing because now it's time to censor yourself, Papas. Buki, Buki butt. This is the floor is yours. It's about you.
If you're in my life and I care about someone, I'm going to say what I want to say. And what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. I could share my opinion. And why does that make you restless? What I choose to say to whatever audience I choose to say it to? It's my business, right?
So you ain't got to say it with
what I
like
want to
that.
say to who I want to say it when I want to say it.
Are
And
you
that's
talking to
up
me like
council.
what?
And don't you love the freedom of that? Don't you love the freedom? I love it.
So
why
that,
isn't
So I don't know
little
what your
gift
point
you was
is. I'm going to say
diabolical.
what I want to who I want when I want. That's your answer.
He answered, all right. So Jeff and Jeffrey.
If
That
I
man,
want to have a
that man
filter,
was like, hold
I'll
on,
have
man.
a
Hold on,
filter.
man.
If I don't want a
Hold on,
filter, I
man.
don't have to have a filter. The only place
No
I have a
problem. No
filter is in my
problem.
corporate job, not on these little TikTok lives like this.
Yo, my when I was going to school for psychology, my teacher told me that whenever somebody throw little in front of something like, oh, your little job, your little TikTok, your little that's a sign that they're a hater. Jeffrey, that man was like, Jeffrey, you gonna let the women talk to me like that? Nah, but
the voice was
I'm
getting
not gonna.
higher.
Yeah,
You know
Jeff
what I'm
doesn't
saying?
tell us what to do. I know this is his live. Like if he was like, "Hey, like let someone else talk," or but he doesn't. That's debatable. It's a little hard for him.
Yeah, it's tough.
I ain't
Yeah.
gonna stay here for long. I'm gonna drop real fast, but I just wanted to ask y'all, everybody on the panel except for Matt, You the DEI hire for this question, Matt. Did he answer that? Did he answer my question yet, y'all?
No.
Yeah, I answered it to my satisfaction, and that's all that matters, doesn't it?
Well, you flunked. You failed. You
What
did
was
a
the
terrible
answer?
job. That was a very mediocre white man response.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm
Do
not.
better.
Okay, hold on. The difference between us is I'm not a people pleaser. I tell you like the way it is, and that's what
I'm not a
bothers
people
you.
pleaser. I'm not an oppressive system upholder, and that's
And
the
I'm
difference between me and you.
Wait,
no, but
did
wait a
he
minute.
just
I'm not
call
gonna.
us people pleasers?
No, he
If
called
we
me a
were,
people.
oh, okay,
I'm
because
a
I was
people
like, if
pleaser.
I was a people pleaser, I sure as hell wouldn't be on this app. But yeah, that okay. Don't
Yeah.
be calling Jeff a people pleaser. Who the fuck you
No,
think
but
you
I'm.
are?
No, but I'm
I'm
just.
not.
I'm just saying. I'm not unapologetic either, right? I'm just going to tell you. And by the way, why does it bother you when someone has a real solid opinion about something? You should engage with that
What do
person
you
instead
mean
of putting
So
them
I don't
down
like the I
by
don't like the
making all
part
these personal attacks, which you guys have
where I
done.
don't like the part where you asking all these questions and yet you've yet to answer one. But you might not be an unapologetic person, but you're also not an empathetic person. You ain't have empathy for that wife that lady that carried your kids. You ain't have empathy for the process that she went through to birth them. You don't have empathy for women who are giving birth to children regardless if they want to carry that birth, that fetus full term, whether it was a choice to even be impregnated. You have no empathy for women. Ken has pointed it out a million times that you're a misogynist. So it's not like anybody expects you to be of any moral character at this point because you've already shown your whole
You're
ass. And at this point, I think you spread your butt cheeks and clap them too.
confusing misogyny with confidence. Just because I'm a confident man, don't confuse that with misogyny, like you keep emphasizing.
Oh no, you're confidently misogynistic.
I think what she's saying is just because I'm confident, I'm narcissistic too. Why don't you use that label too? Go ahead, use that too.
That it, I didn't.
Yeah,
If the
you're doing a
shoe
good job.
fits, lace it up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but see, just because someone articulates a certain way and they're firm in their opinion, this has got to be a negative. You got to use a negative word to
No, Matt, cool. Like, here's the
label the
thing, though.
guy.
Here's the thing. You've
Right.
articulated your point and you've said your opinion, and we are telling you that it's misogynistic. We're telling you that your opinion is trash. We're just clocking how you're reacting and how you're saying. That's all it is. You see what I'm saying? That's just factual information. You're the one that's now trying to say, oh, this little app and stuff like that. You're the one that's trying to say, oh, you're just a people pleaser. That's why you're like that. That's the difference between me and you. When in reality, no, you're just upholding an oppressive system. You're misogynistic. That's what you are. Do you not agree that you're misogynistic?
How so? In what way?
In what way you haven't been? In what way you haven't been? Your opinion about abortion that's misogyny.
Yeah, well, I just told you I feel like there should be certain exceptions, but not, I don't know. You guys haven't even voiced any exceptions to my knowledge.
I mean, can I ask him a question real fast, Jeff? How many people would it take to call you misogynistic, your views misogynistic, before you actually was like, before you stop saying, oh no, I'm not misogynistic, I'm just confident in my opinion. Like, are you receptive to information? Do you consider yourself a logical person who is self-aware or practices mindfulness? Like, are you receptive to other people's views of you? Because like right now you have several people telling you that your views are misogynistic, like Jeff just said, and you're just like, nah, that's not it.
Here, let me help you.
Even Jay spoke on it, about how you're being told these things, and you're thinking, you're saying you're a nice guy when you're just performing niceness, and then at every turn, I'm gonna tell you right now, the fact that you took the opportunity to be like,
Here,
like
let me
maybe
help
it's
you.
maybe it's you. It's not me, it's you. I'm gonna tell you right now, the way you're the way you're allowing us to see you right now, the way you're showing your whole butt, it just tells me the way that you gaslight and flip it on everybody else except yourself. And in the
Yeah.
moment when you were asked to actually speak about your opinion, you could not. Already is going to give us the red flags about your personality. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that lady that's at home, if she even still there, You're manipulative to her, and you're
No,
psychologically abusive to her, and you
we're
gaslight her. And
no,
I'm
I'm
gonna tell you
not.
that.
And
I can tell.
you're not gonna sit here and judge my relationship. You have zero idea of
Because you,
how we conduct our relationship. We're actually both partners to each other. So
kid.
let me help you out. I'm an extrovert. I have
Wait,
multiple
you're not a
degrees,
partner to your
and
wife because you made it
yeah, we
clear up here
are. And
earlier.
you
No,
guys have
Matt, you
no
made it
knowledge
clear
of
up
my
here that
personal life.
you
And you're not
provide
going to
for
disparage
her.
my wife and my
You
presence
made
on
a
this
claim
live.
up here
You should
earlier that you
apologize for what you
provide
said about
for
her.
her.
No,
I didn't say
For
nothing
she's
about.
her.
going to
That doesn't make
apologize.
her a
Wait, hold on.
partner. That
Matt,
makes
Go ahead.
what did I
Go
say
ahead,
about your
sweetie.
wife? What did
Yeah,
I say
you
about
said
your wife?
something negative about me and her. I don't even know
No,
you.
no, no. What did I say about your wife? Be specific. What did I
Said
say about your
something
wife?
negative about her.
No, I ain't say nothing about your wife. I spoke on your character. And again, when you're asked to give an opinion,
You
when
don't
you're
know
out,
squat about my relationship with her at all.
I bet
So
she
don't
doesn't know
don't
squat
involve her in
about
this
your internet
conversation.
activities either. I bet she doesn't know
It
squat
doesn't matter. Oh,
about
what
your
about
internet
your
She
internet
history.
also
activity?
probably doesn't know about the young
What about your internet
the
activity?
young women that you follow. Some of them
Right.
No, what
probably
about your internet
minors.
activities? What about yours?
I would post them for all the world to
well, let
see.
me go
Who
look
I
here.
cares?
see.
Mackenzie already
Sure.
has. There's a video on her page where she goes through his entire
Yeah.
following list
Nobody
while she's
cares.
having a debate with him. So if anybody wants to check that
Nobody
out,
cares.
Mackenzie. If you guys know her, Queen Kenzie. I don't know what you guys call her, but
Yeah.
just Mackenzie.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go about my day or night
You
or
hit a
whatever
nerve,
this.
Ken.
Is this the guy that deleted his did you delete your user? Is that the same guy? I was in one of her lives the other day, and there was a guy that sounded like you, Matt, that was following a bunch of young women,
Yeah.
and then they bet him like $5,000 or something,
Yeah.
and he ended up deleting his whole TikTok account. And I was like,
Probably. Yeah. Go ahead, guys.
Interesting.
Throw me
Interesting.
under the
He
bus.
also, I believe Tashika also has a video of Matt. I can't remember if she
Yeah.
has a video
I
of him
see.
or if
Sure.
I screen recorded the video because he was being extremely racist towards Tashika on her panel. Like I was
It's, now that the
close.
conversation is not
This is
productive at
exactly
all,
why I said earlier, Ken.
I'm
Why you
gonna
puffing
get
your
going.
chest up at me
Guys,
is because
keep
I'm
in
black.
mind,
Because I ain't see him give nobody
you're
that
gonna
energy.
encounter people like me that will stand their ground, and
He
you
hates
actually
me.
feel
It's fine.
threatened by
I'm
me.
not very fond of him either. I don't really care for him, so I'll call him as I please. I have an intro for him, but he was just here the other night, so I didn't think that I needed to restate it. But essentially, Matt has his own intro when he goes into a room, especially with my friendlies. I go up and I make sure I introduce Matt properly.
yeah, I forgot about that. But Matt, what about really what? What was you fixing to say? Oh, somebody turned off you, Matt. You could unmute Matt.
Well, guys, I don't know what we're learning here anymore besides people trying to disparage my character, which doesn't do anything at all, and I'm not going to allow it.
What have you
So
learned so far? Like before we just started disparaging your character, what did you learn? Because you said
it doesn't
I know
matter.
what we're learning
It
here
doesn't matter.
anymore.
You don't even
So
care
what have
about
you
what you're
learned?
saying, do you? You're just talking. You're not talking about the topic. You're
I
trying
want y'all to take note that this is what he does to his wife every time she
talk
brings a
about.
problem to him. Just take
You're
note.
going to try to prove a point for what reason? You want to
Okay,
just
so
have to
since
be on a soapbox for some
I'm not
reason?
gonna lie, y'all. He triggering me a little
Nobody
bit. He's
cares.
giving an abusive ex.
Yeah.
since you want to talk about the topic, one of the things you mentioned was that you did not agree with this, as far as the abortion, was because you're stopping a biological process. Is that correct?
You are disrupting a biological process. Yeah.
So do you disagree with Rogaine? Is that not disrupting the biological
Good night,
process of
guys.
hair loss?
I don't really.
Do you
don't know.
disagree
This
with birth
conversation.
control? What about condoms? What about
What about
dieting?
It's okay, guys.
but
What about
wait,
Talk to someone
exercise?
else.
but Matt,
I'm gonna
do
keep going,
you
guys.
agree? Do you agree with like the biological process is not for us to drive in cars or be on the internet or to be in airplanes? Or the biological
That's just.
process, are you vaccinated? Did you get vaccinations when you were a kid?
I'm not going to get into my personal medical history
Of course
Did you
online.
go to public school in the
Don't
United
talk about
States?
my finances or my relationships with people.
Okay.
Bull fucking shit. You
Apple. What?
no bullshit. I'm
But
gonna call
these
bullshit
people
on this.
here
I'm gonna
will
call
talk
bullshit.
about
I'm gonna
they
call
put
bullshit.
their whole
I'm gonna give you
lives out
three. I'm
there.
gonna give you three
Why don't you
examples
tell
on
us your
how
whole
he
life?
does talk about finances on the internet. Okay,
Oh, I
one would
see.
be he told me and Peachy on a live how much he makes a year. He also showed us
No,
his house,
no, I
walked
never
around his
did.
entire house that day with his
Never
camera
did
on,
that.
and then he also was in a live
Never
full of
did.
black people and told them how they need to get off of their asses, work, get out of the ghetto, buy houses, all of this shit. He does talk. Okay, bye. So just so
Oh,
everybody
Katie
knows.
ran him off. I like it here.
You know, that's what he does. He runs.
I didn't even disparage his character. So, but he couldn't answer the question because his point is dumb. It's not that you're confident, sir. It's that you're loud and wrong. You have a stupid opinion. It's so easy to debunk.
Yeah. Okay. What we've learned from tonight's live is that we, as white people, collectively, need to do fucking better. Okay. Yeah, we've had problematic ass white people opinions about topics that they don't. We created the problem, and then we're perpetuating the problem onto other people, and that's a bad way to be. Okay, I know it fucking sucks. All right, every time that I get deep into this topic, like tonight is a perfect example of like I was feeling emotionally heavy when we were having the race discussion that we were having earlier tonight, and Jay's on the fucking panel. I can't imagine how he feels in the middle of this conversation. It's uncomfortable. It's not somewhere that I want to be for my comfort, but it's somewhere I want to be for my growth. And we as white people need to do fucking better about that. I know that there's, I mean, Ken presents white, but she's also in part of the BIPOC community. So like, I know that I'm not talking to the panel specifically, but I am talking to the comments for anybody in the comments. And I feel like if you've been here this long, you're on this path with me to help break down these internalized systems of hatred and vitriol for other groups of people that don't deserve any of the situations that we put systemic oppression on. and we gotta do better as white people, okay? We gotta do better.
Yeah, I'm also for anybody that I've seen just Matt do some very deplorable things, and I don't have very high standards for men or really any at all, but if a man is going to actively be in these spaces continuously time and time and time and time again, perpetuating extremely harmful behavior, I am going to call it out because my personal mission is to protect, to help not protect women because we don't, we need to gather together and to show women the actions of these men that may not know. That is how we keep ourselves safe in this world where misogyny unalives women, by pointing it out and having other women, femmes, and people socialized to be women see those actions and behaviors. We can continue to keep ourselves safe. My target isn't to come on here and bully men. As fun as it is, it's not my
Yeah.
that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to build a community of women and help women see these harmful behaviors, and so that they can recognize them in their own life and continue to keep themselves safe.
Yeah, I was actually on Miss Andrews live the other day and said something to that point, is that because her background said something about like what should women do or what's the problem with women or something. I can't remember exactly what the thing was, but it was a trigger point. But I said, what do women need to change? And I said that I would just like it if more women called out problematic behavior, more women got to do or was doing what she did and what you do. Because first off, it would have put me on my journey sooner. And also, I know that it amplifies the thing. If there's more women that are talking about it, if there's more women that are discussing it, that means there's more of the message that gets out and gets to see problematic behavior. And somebody said, well, you still shouldn't, as a man, you shouldn't be telling a woman. And I meant it as if a woman feels comfortable with that. If a woman feels comfortable speaking out against it, if she feels comfortable making content about it, because there's some women that are in spaces right now where if they say something and call it out, they might not be here tomorrow. And that's the problem. That's the issue. There's some women that are taking misogyny on a daily basis to continue to have a roof over their head, to continue to be able to eat, because she's dependent on this oppressive figure that's in her life. And that's terrible. That's a bad place to be. And I would love for her not to be in that, right? So the best that we can do is to not just remove her from the situation, but we can try to empower people not to be in those scenarios, in those situations. And that's why a lot of misogynistic men have a viewpoint that women shouldn't be educated. Women shouldn't be able to have their own job and their own money, because then they have to depend on men for literal survival.
Correct. That's why you'll never hear me say that advocating or doing this line of work, I mean, not work, but this type of labor is for everybody or every woman, just for the simple fact that there's women that need to keep themselves safe. So you'll never tell me that women need to call it out. No, men need to call it out, right? But it's also women that might know someone, and then they can show up better for that next woman, right? If we can show up better for women, and especially women of color, more specifically Black women, as light-skinned people, right? Like, we should be able to do that and to keep them safe, right? Equity is what we're striving for here.
100%. Sin, you want to say something?
Yeah, I got to drop. I do want to say thank you, Jeff, for always platforming and giving Black women and women in general a voice. Thank you, Ken, so much for what you said, and you as well, Jean. It's been a pleasure to be up here. I want to close with this. As women, because again, I don't want to tell no women to do no extra work, because we do so much already. But as women, it's super important that we do share our stories to the point where we're comfortable enough to do so. Men like Matt only come around just to silence us. When you hear them say things like, older women are teaching younger women to hate men, we're not doing that. We telling them what's really going on so that they could be prepared and they see the red flags and they know what to dodge and how to miss, because there is a direct correlation between misogyny and men who say misogynistic shit. There's a proclivity for it, and there's a direct correlation between misogyny and the rate that women are killed. And on the live, sorry, and I'll end there. Thanks for having me, Jeff. Bye, guys.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I am gonna step the whole pound down. I am gonna end this rascal here in just a minute. I do want to say that I have a Discord. If y'all want to be in a Discord.
Bye, Jeff.
I can. Thank you. Whisper.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate you coming up twice. You came up twice, too. But I have a Discord for the ones that are interested in Discord. It's in my bio. It's in my link tree on the page. That's dope stuff. We be in there kikiing and hanging out. I think there's like 80 something people in there. It's a good time. I appreciate the space, the opportunity to talk and have discussions about these topics that are sometimes harder. Sometimes it's easier to listen in on a conversation like this and then have a real conversation in person with people. You know what I'm saying? Because you hear the words and it just kind of relates to what you have going on. It's hard to cultivate conversations like this in real life sometimes. But if you're in spaces like this and hear the words, then you might be able to facilitate that in your real experiences. And like Ken's content and Miss Andrews' content, stuff like that, like they're good places to consume things for women. Like my daughter consumes their content, right? And then so it's almost like giving permission, right? Because society is so against it. Sometimes when people that are oppressed see other people that look like them or present like them have a discussion about things, then they can pinpoint that behavior in their life, right? And it takes that to kind of break that cycle, you know. But we're gonna end this rascal. I appreciate the love, the support. I mean, I didn't get that many likes, but it's all right. I know. I'm gonna start figuring something out about that. It is what it is. But I did get a lot of new subscriptions. I appreciate those, a whole bunch. That makes me want to push more sub-only content. I want to start doing a sub-only live where We can do it at the gym. We can do it. We can do it at the home gym. We can do it at the Planet Fitness. You know, but basically just have just subs in there having a discussion. If y'all want to do that, like I said, my sub only content is health and fitness. It's not as much human rights, because I feel like the conversation that we had tonight, I wouldn't want to have that behind closed doors. I'd want anyone that wanted to hear that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason in trying to limit that. I'm going live on YouTube soon. I had to sign up. I got my 50-something subscribers, and I tried to go live on YouTube tonight, except for they shut me down, and they were like, nah, you got to wait 24 hours. I was like, that's some bug, but it is what it is. Tim, I appreciate it. I saw you in there commenting and listening to this nonsense. So, y'all have a good one.